So technically this game has Brontosaurus platforming, a video game first, I reckon. This is the Imperial Skulls Honor Podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we're going to be bullshit about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are guzzling Sharkleberry Fin Kool-Aid with 2 cups of sugar mixed in, not just one like peasants do, and slapping around some alien scum and Sega of America's 1990 release of Capcom Strider for the Sega Genesis. Emulation disclosure, I played on PC via RetroArch using the Genesis Plus GX core, and I played with my sexy OG Sega 6-button arcade stick piped in via USB. Jay, how did you play?
Wow, you played it quite different than me. I actually played it via the PC as well, but through Sega Fusion with the 6-button Sega Genesis controller.
Not RetroArch.
Not RetroArch.
Why?
I wasn't sure, like, the way cores are set up at the time. I was under the assumption that I had to use Sega Fusion, or that was the one for Genesis, and that, you know, RetroArch pulls in NES-topia for Nintendo and kind of all these other things. So I just kind of have always just used Sega for Sega Genesis games. It's just easy. Like, it's so simple and easy. I just kind of just naturally do it.
It is. I do like that program, yeah, but obviously having it all consolidated and shit is nice. And there's a slight, Genesis in particular with the 6-button, I had a slight, like, you know, the controls, it's every system requires a little bit of fucking around with the control. It's like RetroArch is a pain in the ass, actually. For the most part, a few things are very plug and play, but most things, when I start doing it for the first time, like Nintendo 64 is a nightmare, man. I cannot. Every game requires like a whole bunch of extra hoops and shit, you know. So like, it's fantastic how consolidated it is, but because it's just like anything else where you have that much fucking breadth. It's like, you know, just like a Nintendo, an NES game. Yeah. When they try to do 8 things in a game, it sucks because they're spread too thin, you know. And RetroArch is the same thing. Like, it's trying to do so much that it requires extra shit to make it work right for each individual thing. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I get pissed off at RetroArch since I made that change.
I feel like that's fascinating. I should probably relook at that because I feel since I use RetroArch for like Atari games and other random systems we may come across, because I know I can just pull in the core. I wonder if I can now use that for Genesis. Like, I'm sure I can.
It's definitely just, you know. But Genesis Plus GX is works great.
Yeah, I think I didn't like the, you know, coming from when I was using the MacBook and everything was so smooth and easy. Coming over here and using RetroArch at first was a struggle, especially because there was no front end that was like nice and easy to use, and I had to find, you know, Launchbox, which I use now, which is a great front end. But the problem with that is whenever I bring in Genesis games, the way that it starts them, and if I just add it through Launchbox, which is great, like Launchbox is such a fantastic front end, but there's some reason, it's a setting within Sega Fusion that whenever I start a Genesis game, it makes it super full screen. I can't access any of like the computer menus. I'm like, what is like, it just is off. So I stopped using Genesis within that because I can't figure out how to like just minimize the screen so I can like change that setting and stop it from doing that. I'm sure if I like really search hard enough, I could find it, but I have not been able to yet.
That fucking handheld I bought has Launchbox as a front end in it. And it looks cool.
It is,
but it's severely limiting on what you can do. And going back to the XMD, like PlayStation, whatever the fuck, you know, it's hilarious to me actually that PlayStation it's RetroArch, like it's fucking PlayStation's OS is RetroArch. It's fucking crazy to me that is the case, you know, coming into doing this and seeing these menus. I mean, I guess maybe it's who knows. I'm not even gonna try to speculate on that. Doesn't matter. But yeah, when I first got that handheld, a lot of frustrating shit because of Launchbox. Once I reverted it back and stopped having that load up and just used the XMD menu and have full control over everything, So much better, dude. Highly recommend. Just honestly, go back and I think whatever episode last episode maybe, whatever it was, and I have that tutorial. Find that link in the show notes, dude.
Check that out.
And watch that video. It's so straightforward and simple. If you just know how to do those simple things, it's so much fucking more approachable of a program. Anyhow, we're not doing a fucking diatribe on emulation tutorials here, so let's move on and get on with our lives. Please rate and review the podcast. Be part of the ISOH movement. Give us validation on your podcast platform of choice in the form of a rating and review, and we will read it here on the pod and feel good about ourselves. 2 birds with 1 stone. So let's do both those things. What are we jamming on now, Jay? What are you jamming on now? I'm guessing Maelstrom fucking ESO here.
Yeah, man. This is veteran Maelstrom Arena.
I can't believe you're worse with this than I am with Subnautica.
I mean, at this point, I've been playing this game for several years now. You know, I have so much time invested. I'm like champion level 1700, like all this legendary gear. It's good to have a game where like my progress has carried on for so long, and I can kind of walk around. And just,
Clash of Clans. I know how it feels. Clash of Clans. I know how it feels. Yeah,
but this. I mean, we talk about this game regularly. It's a game I've definitely had on and off. I've definitely taken long breaks from it because of the style of game it is. You can come back to it, but it's funny recently because I have recently obtained 2 different titles that I have long coveted, and in this game. Think of these titles as kind of like your Game of Thrones, like Mother of Dragons, like Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, The Unchained, like all those random like titles that come after your name. But these are exciting because it's when you're walking around town, you meet people, you're playing with people because it's an MMO. You see people and you see their titles. And so I obtained Flawless Conqueror, which is what you see the scoreboard behind me, which is completing the veteran 9-round Maelstrom Arena with all vitality, no deaths. And it's my highest score. I use no buffs, everything like that. So super excited to walk around with the title, The Flawless Conqueror. So from now on, you can refer to me as Gentleman JB, The Flawless Conqueror.
That's good. Demio, I mean, you play Demio, you know this. It has, each level has its own, title like that. So when you get a new one, it shows, up on the bar above your thing. So every time I get a new level, like I think I'm Lord now, or is what it's like. It's level, I think it's level 74. I'm one off the new high point with the new update. And it's like Lord or some shit like that. So like every time I look over, like that's what you have to call me that now. You'll refer to me as Lord.
Yes, it's fun, because there's so many titles that you get throughout playing the game through this, the campaign, doing delves that are kind of like whatever titles anybody can get that. But like some of these like this are things that are freaking hard to get. So excited to get that one. And 12 hours the night before that, I actually also obtained one of the hardest hard mode trials, veteran trial titles in the game, Voice of Reason. And so this is completing Veteran Asylum Sanctorum +2. So it's beating the final boss of this veteran trial, 12-person trial, with the mini bosses at the same time, both secondary bosses at the same time, each doing their own separate mechanics all at once. And so I had never beaten that, with those. I've beaten the veteran by itself with, each mini-boss separate, you doing them separate, and with one mini-boss, but never 2. And I was pretty excited to get that, great title. But all of this is because of, there's been many changes throughout the game, throughout all the years, and there's this crazy build right now where you're basically heavy attacking, and if you're a sorcerer, you can get this build where you can just heavy attack, do insane damage, 100,000 damage per second, while having tank level health. And that's essentially the build that I found and a bunch of guild members found. So our trial team has a team of full sorcerers, all with this heavy attack build, just nuking shit, going through the trials, the older trials that we haven't played in a while, and no deathing them and getting highest score, leaderboard scores ever. And we feel like this is something that's definitely going to get nerfed because it feels this just feels too OP. We're basically tanks running around with trial level damage. It's not as high damage as my meta build using daggers and everything, which makes sense. But the fact that this is in-game level raid damage, you can destroy anything in the game with almost tank level health and resistances. and heals. It's the definition of OP, but it's a hell of a lot of fun right now. So much fun.
Okay.
So pretty much been spending a lot of time there, just kind of clearing out more achievements and picking up secondary titles for the fun of it. The only other game that I even messed around with, which was yesterday actually, Monster Hunter Rise came to Game Pass. So, other people I know, like Jesse, have played this game so many hours, like immediately, like 50 hours upon release type of thing. And I downloaded my character yesterday, and you have a couple helpers. You get to create them. It's like a dog and this little cat person that rides a dog. Like, I forget what they're called. It's freaking crazy. But that's pretty much all I've done, but I'm ready and excited to play that. And that is it.
I think I played one of those on PS3 a very long time ago. I was mildly entertained, but it was...
Yeah. That remind me of... I've been told that it's very similar to Dauntless, which I play, a lot. That's fun, cross-platform. But apparently this is like that, but a more polished version in some ways. So we'll see. We'll report back with more details next episode.
Word. Okay.
What about
That's
you?
it?
What have you been jamming? Yeah, that's it, man.
I think I mentioned last time that I was kind of on the hunt for a new story game to dive into. So I probably from editing the podcast and listening to myself say it back to myself, I think I took that as motivation to look further and try to find something. So the first thing I ended up basically just going to my wish list on Oculus and kind of just looking at some of the story games that I had been considering for a while, but for whatever reason, price, whatever it might be, hadn't bid on. And there was one called A Fisherman's Tale VR, which was developed by Interspace and published by Vertigo Games. And it was 30% off in the store, so $10 instead of fucking 14 or whatever it would have been. And it had been on my wish list for a long time, so I was like, fuck it, dive in. It won
more fishing? Oh my gosh.
It's not, well, I mean, it is. I guess it is kind of fishing. You don't actually fish at all in it, though.
Oh, okay.
It won VR Game of the Year in 2019, so, if you respect awards, I don't, but I know some do. So, yeah, I won that award. Yeah, I won that award. But yeah, it's a absolutely beautiful game, great story, has an amazing gameplay mechanic that I really enjoyed, and I totally get why it, especially 4 years ago now, it was probably mind-blowing to people as far as, a lot of VR games have done so much weird stuff now, as far as like the play loop and all that maybe right. This wouldn't land as revolutionary now. But in any event, you play as the tender to a lighthouse, and all the voice acting has like a French accent, and you have to assume this is set on the coast of France, I believe. And the whole game takes place in the lighthouse and an adjoining shanty that the lighthouse keeper lives in. So this one building, basically. So you're inside theoretically the whole time, and your character is in the model building. So there is a perfect replica of the shanty lighthouse that you live in on a table in the middle of the shanty, right? So the game starts, you wake up and you find yourself in this kind of fantastical, maybe dream situation where you see an exact real-time replicant of yourself in the model, as well as in the model's model, and in that model's model, so on and so forth. So when you look up, so you see that looking on the table, and when you look up, the roof's gone, and you realize that you are someone else's replicant. So it's in this, space. I don't know. I'm sure there's a name for something like that, but you're in. That's the world that you're in, and everything you do in your shanty, like the space that you're in, happens in the model shanties above and below you. So the whole game is puzzle solving situations using that dynamic in one way or another, and it's really, really brilliant and really fucking interesting, and amazing brain teasers, because you're trying to sometimes they work in just the size of what you're doing. I don't know, it's so hard to explain, sometimes it's a thing because you can reach into that model and pull something out, and it's the size that it was in the model. So sometimes you have to reach in and grab this little thing that's smaller in that replicant's world to manipulate something with something that size in your mind, and vice versa. Sometimes you want the thing above you that's bigger to do something that, because it's bigger and maybe you stick it in, it sticks it into your shanty, it changes something. It's really outside the box thinking required to get through a lot of these puzzles. And it's not, I wouldn't call it really hard. I definitely, easily the most negative thing about it is it's rather short. So it's good that I caught it on sale for $10. It's maybe 2 to 3 hours tops, unless you're a total dunce with the puzzles, I guess. But, in all the reviews, that's the same thing. Everyone's like, amazing game. Wish it was longer. It's don't go into it thinking it's going to fucking take you weeks or anything. It's definitely just like, I beat it in one night, So, really fucking fun, really beautiful, really good story, a lot of cut scenes and shit. That it's the whole thing's like this thing with your dad who was like this really tough fisherman on you, or really tough fisherman that was hard on you, and yada, 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 and was disappointed in you because you weren't able to maintain the family tradition as a fisherman, and you've taken this, in his perceived view, a step back lineage wise by becoming a lighthouse keeper instead of a fisherman. So there's a really good story going on with it, and yeah, some of the stuff, some of the mechanics and shit are really, really cool. And it's just, it's another example of just my next game too, just VR, the shit. It's just, it's fucking unbelievable what you can do and how, I don't know, man, just boundary breaking of what a game can be, should be, is what is possible in gaming. It's just so incredible.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, that's a lot of cost for one night. Seems like you get a lot more value out of like Game Pass, but who am I?
No, that's one game. $10. The next game was only, was $25, and this one is, so the last Clockwinder, it's the image behind me. This was the 2022 game of the year. So 3 years later.
Ooh. What, in the VR category? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. 2022 VR game of the year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I had such a good experience with Fisherman's Tale, and I was just itching for that kind of game again. And I went ahead, this was, like I said, 25, so pretty close to, the most these things cost on here. So I bid on it anyways. And this game, dude, same, like I said, I was blown away by that multiverse thing in the Fisherman's Tale. This game, okay, so the story is also very fantastical in that the setting is, there's this tree and it's out in the middle of the ocean, and I guess it's probably the future. It's not really described or explained, and it's irrelevant. There's this tree, massive tree out in the middle of the ocean, and it's like the tree of life kind of idea. It keeps the fucking whole thing, the whole machine, universe, world, whatever going, So there's this person who is like, a finite, non-fantastical being that somehow ends up being the caretaker of this thing. And it's like, the person spends a large part of their adult life in this job, alone on this tree, doing this, all the things that need to happen to keep this thing running, And you take the role of this one. I think it's after. It's been like a week since I played, and I'm maybe spacing a little bit on this, but I think you're the one after it. But I think it's the last Clockwinder tried to basically, because as a human being, you're going to fuck shit up on this like never-ending responsibility. So the one prior to you had this idea to automate it, to make it so a human being couldn't fuck it up, basically, and thereby making it more efficient, and a person doesn't have to spend their whole life there, and it never gets fucked up, and the world doesn't fucking come crashing down because of someone's dumb human error, So I think you were like her young apprentice is the role you play, and you have to go back to this tree after, because you had left, like you were like her apprentice. The two of you kind of had a falling out, and you left, and I don't think it really explains what happened to the last one, but they're gone. Shit's fucked up. You have to go back to the tree, and you're trying to fix everything that's been fucked up because she died or disappeared or whatever it was. So you go in, and so this last person, there's all these things. A lot of it's very predicated on growing. Like there's a lot of like you have to grow this vegetation or fruits or whatever, and those things, those plants, these rare plants fuel the machine in different ways, and instead of a human being doing all the little individual tasks to grow, cultivate, harvest, and fuel the machine with the stuff, this last caretaker invented this automaton thing. This is the thing next to me right now. So these things mimic your behavior. So you get this power where you hit a button and it starts a loop, and it starts with just a 1 second loop. I've opened it up to 2 and 4 second loops as well. But basically you hit a button, and then whatever you do with your hands in that time loop, or move, wherever you move, these automatons will mimic that exact behavior in that exact spot and grab whatever you grab, turn whatever you turn, hit whatever switch you hit, whatever you do in that time loop, this automaton replicates it. And you can make as many of these automatons as you want in a room or in a space or whatever. So what you are doing in this game is you're designing systems to accomplish tasks with these automatons in loops. So, it's amazing how it all times out with 1, 2, and 4 second things. I guess it's all on the beat of, it's like music. It's the reason music works, I'm sure, in our minds. But whatever. But there's incentives to accomplish these tasks with as few automatons as possible. So you're trying to do it in the smartest way you can. So just that loop mechanic alone is just unbelievably entertaining and engrossing and interesting. But even beyond that, even the maximizing efficiency, even if that doesn't appeal to you, just the act of accomplishing these tasks with these robots is wild and crazy. Like the one I posted a few videos. The one when I first started learning that you could, because it's like playing. It's kind of like a basketball shot, dude. It's like some of the things to make it really efficient. You're trying to there'll be obstacles in a room you need to get around. So maybe you're tossing one over this guy over here around this bookcase. He's got to throw it back over here to this one on this side of the bookcase, and then it's got to go into this hole over here. Now you can either do 3 automatons to pluck it off the plant, throw it to the next guy on the one side, then he has to throw it to the other one, and then that guy can just drop it into the hole, the harvesting hole, or you can fucking have that guy pluck it off and shoot that shit like Steph Curry over 2 bookcases onto the other side of the room into a hole. And then once that's of course hard as shit. But if you get it, and then you have a 1 second loop of that dude doing that every second that you figured out, oh my God, dude, it is unbelievably satisfying. Unbelievably satisfying. Okay. And it gets way more complicated. There's some of the vegetables, there's one that you can't touch. If you touch it, it disperse. It's like a water-based thing. So you have to do everything with you have to use these little fucking slingshot things. And then there's one that floats, but is also very unstable. So you have to use a knife to cut it off the thing, and then kind of it's trying to float away, and you're just using your hands to you can't grab it. You have to just kind of guide it very delicately to wherever, and usually you have to guide it somewhere down because it goes up naturally. So there's just a lot of shit like that is just, again, trying to, you're trying to get these things through these spaces and accomplish these crazy fucking things. And then so that's just harvesting them as one thing, and then there's another room for each fruit or each machine, whatever, where you have to usually work in previous vegetables too and design these molecule things. So there's these machines that have the connector things between molecules, and then there's a board that shows you the exact molecule structure necessary to make this machine go. And then you have to use these automatons to within the constraints of each one of these vegetables or fruits limitations, or you can't grab them, or one explodes, whatever they are, you have to design a system that gets them all into the molecule structure you need this room that this room needs, and then get that molecule into this machine over and over and over again to create the seeds that you need to do a thing, you know? So, like, dude, it is, you know, I'm sure this is not it's the game of the year, so a lot of people, clearly enough people like it, but, you know, I'm sure it's not a thing that would really pluck the strings of every person, but if you have a mind for, like, you know, designing a system that, like, it makes me think maybe I missed my calling as like a factory fucking system designer or something, you know? Like, I want to start sending out resumes, dude. Like because, you know, it's so amazing because you, like, walk into a space and, like, you know, it's just a dead room. There's nothing happening here. And there's, like, okay, I see where the things are, where I can harvest plants. I see where the things got to get to. And there's just no guidance. And it's just like, figure it out. And, like, there's a genuinely, dude, an infinite number of solutions in any room for any problem, probably. But what's the most efficient way? What's the way you actually enjoy doing of the different, like, activities of these? Like I said, throwing these things, they can, you know, they do whatever you can do with your hands. So, like, you can, whatever the thing you enjoy doing most, it's going to have your flavor to it, you know? It's just, and again, it is just such a, it's so fucking brilliant. And the story too is really good. There's you know, you find all these tapes and shit. And there's, like, you know, there's a piano in the one room, and I don't know shit about music and I can't play piano, but I know I can use those automatons to play a piano song. And I'm sure that is probably, it's like a fully functional piano, you know? So, like, I know that something cool is probably there. Probably an achievement that I know is amazing and to accomplish. I don't know what it is, and I'll probably never get it because I have no musical inclination whatsoever. But, yeah, it's just such a brilliant thing with the fucking automatons, man. It's so fucking good. And, you know, I'm on, like, the back probably 20-15% now. I'm like these, you know, I got into these last few things and I saw what the problems that when I was like, oh my God, these are going to be so fucking hard. And I haven't played it in like a week and a half since. And it is very much, you get, you know, you'll sit and fucking be trying to figure something out, especially to get to a certain number of automatons accomplishing it that, you know, gets you the achievement that you want. Like, you'll just be like, what? That's fucking impossible. There's no way to get that here with these fucking physical constraints. There's just no way that's possible, you know? And yeah, you walk into a room and, like, it's like a 3-tiered thing, of course. You know, like 9 automatons, 7 automatons, or 5 automatons to get X number per minute produced, you know? And it's just like, you know, it's just like 5. No way you're doing that. 5. It's not possible with 5. There's no way, you know. But every one of them has a solution like that. Yeah, and it is just so sad when you get it, dude. It is so satisfying. It's unbelievably fulfilling video game. Really fucking good. And again, just another testament to, like, it's just so outside the box concept wise and beyond anything that could ever happen on flat. It's just not possible to happen. Not that way. Like, you know, if you had to do these activities on a flat screen with buttons, it would be awful. It would be so boring, you know? Probably not. It'd probably still be, because you're still designing the system, it would probably be still kind of fun. But, like, the act of, because, I mean, you, like I said, it can tell, man. Your shots, it's like, if you're trying to do the fucking basketball shot thing, man, it's a matter of fucking nanometers, you know? And, like, getting it right, and the trajectory, you can feel the wrong and the right when you release it. Nice. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know how many times I'm like, fuck, that's not even, like, as it leaves my hand, I'm like, that's not it. You know, so fucking good, dude. So fucking good. And they do so many good things with complicating it too, to keep the difficulty increasing and the variance in the gameplay of just, you know, mechanics that you got to physically do, you know, and, like, you know, the tough thing is, like, one of the first reviews I saw for it that was bad was someone, a handicapped person, I think, confined to a wheelchair. And, like, it says that you can play the game sitting down. You cannot play this game sitting down. It's not possible, dude. Like, I don't have enough space. Like, there's some, like, I've had to, like, at least, again, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't know. There probably is a way to do it without having to move, you know? But it's certainly harder, and you're certainly limited, because they'll move. If you can, I mean, you can't teleport with them, but you can walk with them. So if you can clear out a space big enough, you can just run over to something and fucking put it somewhere. And in the space, that automaton will do that thing. You know, so, like, if you can get your Guardian set up in a way where you're not running into a fucking table while you do it, you know. So I'm like constantly like, okay, I know exactly what my space is, and you can see your, you know, you can. I'll like put my arm out to get the Guardian to come up so I can see it, and kind of think about what I'm trying to do with this particular automaton fucking set, you know, and like make sure my Guardian. So I'm constantly thinking about it. That's the interesting thing to do it. It's like it adds a layer of VR awareness in that, like, I'm constantly thinking about my place in the space in the game and my place in the real world space, and like having to marry those two things real time as I solve problems and accomplish difficult physical tasks. It's a level of like I don't know, just difficult, like, you know, human functionality.
I don't know if I like that.
It's one, like, you know, if you can figure it out and do it. And here's the thing. If you're not trying to hit those achievements, you probably don't need. You can if you use however many automatons, you can definitely do this without having to implement this level of difficulty, I suppose. But, you know, once you get in there, you're trying to maximize it and trying to figure that out. And like, it's just there's times you're like, if I could just walk over there, that would make this work. And like, so you're like, I'll like stop. Like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Like, and like get the thing and like turn. You can like turn the fucking whole world with the stick. So you like get the stick. Like the space I wanted. You have to like line up the space I want to run in my actual living room with the space, like turn the thing to get it so that I have the long track. Cause like my track in my living room is shaped kind of like a T with where the top is longer than the stem of it, you know? So like, it's more of like a Tetris block. I would call it like the T Tetris block with like, you know, to be a T, it would need a second block going down that stem, you know, to really feel like a T where it's long. But so basically they're all kind of the same length, every thing, you know? So like, if I need to really do space, it's gotta be in the top part, you know? So like, I gotta like turn the whole world. It's just really, really interesting and just requires so much more, I don't know, fucking thought, you know? It's really, really, really consuming mentally, and that if you want that kind of game, I don't know if I've ever played anything that pushes you so hard in a fun way. I mean, you know, there's hard games where you're like, oh, I don't even see the end goal here. I don't even see the finish line. But like, you can always see the finish line here. It's just how do I get there in a way that works, you know? And in that way, it's really well done. It's really, really well done. Such a good game.
It sounds fun, but also sounds like a game that would be more fun living in my last New York apartment, because I had huge ceilings, much like the living room area was so big and open. That's where I'm like, that would have been perfect.
You definitely want space, and this is definitely one. And yeah, you know, because you get going into, because you can just, you know, you're trying to nail that 1 second loop, so you're just fucking going, man. And like, you can get, you know, you have to make sure you're in your space safely, because you can get consumed enough where you're smack. If you're not paying attention, you'll smack into shit for sure. So it's definitely a safety first video game, but very, 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 very good. And they did just it's so fucking good. It's such a fucking good game. Such a good job. And I just can't even imagine, like, just how did they come up, you know, how do they even come up with these ideas? Like, how do you even, I don't know, man. You just gotta, you know, it's like any artist. You fucking, they have some predisposed fucking aptitude for that thought.
Well, channel. This one, I feel like I've read enough. This one feels like it organically could have come out of having the technical know-how to be able to create the VR technology where like something is copying your movements and then being like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? And just build a game around it, you know?
Yeah, this is actually, you know what, this is a game I absolutely need to look up developer interviews with. And just,
that would be cool to understand. Like, is
know,
it like that? Like,
yeah.
or how did you come up with this?
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it's fascinating to listen to them talk about coming up with this game, because it's so much fucking fun. So I got that cooking, not quite done, but quite a ways into it. And yeah, I'm up to level 74 on Demio. So Amy and I are playing pretty much every night. So
I've
been playing the shit out of it. Nice. They got, so that, you know, with each level they give you a few new things. They have a really cool, the 72 level die is a slimeling die. It's, so, you know, the purple slimes.
Yeah.
So it's that color, and it's got like these crude dots on it are the one, the single hit crit and then the miss, and it's a really cool looking one for sure. So it's the first time I've changed my die in a while, so that's pretty fun. And then Mighty Coconut they're dropping Atlantis on the 26th, so I'm pretty excited about that. That'll be dope. I love deep sea shit. And that will be amazing. And then, I decided, PS5 coming out and like, just whatever, new year, trying to fucking throw shit away. I remembered I had all that PS4 shit and the PSVR headset and stuff cluttering up my game accessory drawer. So I'm like, now is the time to sell this, because once this thing drops substantially in value, the second the PSVR 2 comes out. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell this thing. So yeah, I listed on eBay, and then I get a question from someone asking for the software version on the thing. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta plug this fucking thing in. So like, I get it out, I plug it in, and it turns on. And, I haven't turned this thing on. It's funny, actually. All the dates are the 23rd of December, 2 years ago. So basically, 2 days before I got the Xbox. So it just hasn't been on, And so I fired up, and like, I had the Subnautica menu as like my menu, my RetroArch menu. And so, that fires up, the music starts, the fish are flying around, it looks like a Subnautica scene, and I'm like, oh fuck, Subnautica, that's right, I have the whole version on here of the original, because I have Below Zero on the Xbox, but I don't have the original. That was just Game Pass. So I fucking I fire that up, and I get the software thing, and I'm like, well, it's got to wait a few days to sell it anyways. Like, I kind of wanted to play this and fuck around. So I started a hardcore version of Subnautica on the PS4. So hardcore, maybe that's common knowledge, but like basically permadeath, like you die, game over, nothing, everything's lost, So I started fucking playing. I just went off completely the deep end with this shit, dude. Like they had done a big update. That was part of the thing too. They had done a big update on it. So like all the quality of life improvements that were built into Below Zero, they backwards compatibility into the original version.
Okay.
Nice. a lot of the new building or base building structures and shit. I think there's some new fish and wildlife things that were put in as well from the second one. There seems to be. It's been so long since I played, but I feel like there's shit in it, fish-wise and stuff, that I don't remember, so could be true, could be not. I'm not entirely sure, and I didn't take the time to really read every single update thing. But that's, of course, cool, too, to have the new base building possibilities in the game, so you can play the game in a different way, of course. So that's interesting in a way. And yeah, so I've started 3 games now. So, like, I started on the PS4, and then I eventually sold it, so I, like, fuck, and, like, there's, I'm, like, Googling ways to take a PS4 saved game into an Xbox thing,
oh my gosh.
Not possible. You can't do that. So
psycho behavior.
Yes, I can't do that. So I'm like, fuck, I just buy it on fucking Xbox, $30, sucker. So I bought it on, I bought, whatever, it doesn't matter. I bought the VR version of Below Zero on my laptop once, because I was, when I first got the Oculus, I was able to play VR. I haven't tried that in a while. I keep meaning to make the effort to try that again, to see if they fixed whatever got fucked up that wouldn't let me do that, because that would be fun. But so I bought that there. I bought Below Zero on Xbox also. I obviously have bought the original on PS4. I've now bought the original on so I've just spent so much money on Subnautica. It's fucking crazy. It just doesn't make fucking sense. But yeah, so then I started on there, and I got basically to around the same place that I had gotten to on the PS4. So I would say probably 10 to 15 hours maybe into the game, and I played the game so much, and I just think I got it so down, so like I go out to do this like mundane ass task. If you played the game, there's this jelly shroom cave that's like a big barrier to entry for relatively early game. Like, it's kind of farther down than your Seamoth, than your little submersible fucking thing can go. So you kind of got a free dive down there, and it's very disorienting. And there's like everything kind of looks the same, and it's a cave, so you can't just go straight up to the surface. So like I go down there to get some dumb shit that I needed, some little resources to build some next upgrade thing that I wanted, and I go down there and like. This has happened to me before too, so it's even dumber that I let myself do it. It's happened to me before, like originally playing the game. You can get, it's so disorienting down there that you can get lost really fucking easy. And I go down there and I get lost and like I'm like, oh fuck. I'm running out of air and I'm like, oh my god, this is permanent. Like I'm gonna die. Like I'm gonna lose the game. Like it's like so the stakes are so high. Like I put in so much time on this. Like I'm just gonna lose the game. Oh my god. And like I'm like freaking out and like fucking going around and like I couldn't fucking get out. And like I like hitting this one thing I don't think I've ever had to use it. Like the air bladder that's like if you use it rather, it just it's like a air pocket that jerks you up to the surface. But if you're in a cave, that doesn't work. so like I'm hitting that for the first time in my life. It doesn't fucking I still die, and like it dies, and like I'm literally sitting there playing, and I turn to Amy. I'm like. Oh my god, I get fucking dead. I'm fucking dead. Like, oh my god, unbelievable. So I fucking I just like sat there sad for a few minutes, like just like I can't believe I did that. I played this game too much to do something that stupid. Especially I wasn't doing some boundary pushing part of the game. I was just doing a mundane task that went fucking sideways, and like that's the difference between. The whole point of that game is like this. I was texting with Jab right before we got on about this. Like playing with permadeath in that game in particular is like, because that's the whole thing with that game. Like you're in this alien environment that is highly dangerous at all times, and like the first time you play that game, you feel that a lot, but it goes away once you become familiar with your environment. You know the constraints of what the fish can do, what they can't, what you can do, what your equipment is, what's the net. Like all that. A lot of that goes away. Permadeath is a whole new thing. It's like playing the game anew. Everything is done differently. So many shortcuts that you might take without permadeath. Nope, not doing that. It's a complete. I'm finding things and creating solutions for things that I didn't even view as problems previously. So like it's like playing the game really close,
brand new,
to new, and like obviously how much I fucking crushed on this game, like to feel like that playing this game after having played it so much in particular is really satisfying and fun. So I'm fucking off the deep end. I'm gonna play it all the way to the end, I'm sure. And fucking it's so fucking good. With that like constant weight on your shoulders, it's really fucking interesting, man. So
got it. No wonder I've been seeing you Todd online so much. I was like, Todd has been online in quite a bit. What's the story here?
Yeah, Todd is fucking off the deep end on Subnautica. Yeah. I started. So yeah, like I think that happened. The thing happened on like I don't know, like Saturday or something, and I couldn't even pick it back up again until I started on Wednesday. I had to like take 4 days off, just sad. Like I went to bed that night sad. I was just sad, man. It was so sad. So fucking sad. Chugging right along now.
Yeah, man. I don't know, but I guess I can see in that kind of game how it could be fun. But crush it.
Dude, there's this big thing. You have to go back to the ship that crashed to recon some shit out of it, and it's like a big narrative point in the game, and like that there's these Reaper things over there. That's where they're at, and it's like the entrance point to this thing is put in a place. Well, you're not definitely going to see one. Like they're over there, but it's like right on the fringe, so you might not. Usually, I wouldn't say might not. You usually don't see one. But I was coming out of that motherfucker last night, and I saw one, and I was like, "Fuck!" and just like tear it. Just oh my god! Just like you're not even looking back. Like I'm not even looking back. If it gets me, I'm just fucked. I'm just going. I'm just going until I can't go no more. And like I know I'm in a place that's so shallow I can't even get to. And like oh my god, dude, just like the level of like. It's fucking, you can't. It's impossible to replicate without that constraint. Because like if one kills you normally, you're just like fuck, I got to go back here again. But like no, I'm gonna lose 20 hours of my life if I die to that. Fuck yeah, so just so good. Dude. It's amazing how much emotional weight it has to play like that.
The feeling that you're describing is the feeling that I get playing Grounded when I see a Black Widow or a Wolf Spider. I'm just like, I'm not even looking back the direction. I'm just bolting because if I got stuff in my backpack, I can't come back to get them. The spider is going to be there and like, it's just gone, like I'm just gone.
That's so good. I mean, we talk about all the time about these old games when they're able to generate a little bit of an emotional response is really fucking cool. And modern games no different. So.
backwards way of bringing us into our delve of this game, which I feel is appropriate considering this is our second time reviewing the game called Strider.
When you sent me the music list this morning, I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice. But it maybe for that reason too. But I was able to find a grounded rationale for it just in my interpretation of the list. I'll say that now. So it's nice that you had some duality to it, but I found it appropriate even without even knowing that intent. So normally I just read the story setup from the manual here, but the Capcom and/or Sega of America teams started this manual off with like 1,000+ word synopsis, 2 full pages of very dense text dedicated to painting a story world for this game. So I love that effort, but I don't think reading it all would make for good podcasting, so I'm going to summate in my own words. A weirdly short period of time from the game's release date, 8 years later in 1998, the world had shockingly become a much better place than it would end up being in our actual 1998, or 25 years later in 2023 for that matter, by way of humanity diverting all the energy used in fighting each other to helping eliminate poverty and hunger. And it is important to note that I think this is the least realistic part of this entire story. just so you know. So think about that as we go all the fantastical places that we're going to go story-wise from now. That's the least realistic thing. Anyways, at this time, some aliens show up in a very small nation in Eastern Europe, Kazafu, and I don't believe this is a real place. I'm not, who knows, especially with USSR, who knows, there's a lot of that going here. There's a lot of fucking who knows. But so they show up and they start leveling shit. And inside of a few weeks, they have leveled 5 continents, eradicated 80% of living things, and their Grand Master, Mayo, had set up shop on a space station he'd secretly built between Earth and our moon called the Third Moon. And a small island called Moralos in the South Seas just so happened to be the secret training location for the Striders, the last defenders of justice on Earth. And the youngest one of these soldiers to ever achieve the rank of A-class Strider, Hyrule, is assigned the task of battling through all the bullshit and curb stomping this Mayo so we can get back to enjoying our TikToks and what have you. So that's the story setup. And it was... Do I do that? No, game format. Episode 76 is where I'm learning the order we do things here, Jay. So tell us what kind of game this is.
I mean, this is a platformer for sure, with some fun, unique movements for added mobility, I would say, but still a platformer in every way, like a la arcade. Let's go. Yeah,
very arcadey. You can just feel it's incredible how much you can feel it, the arcadiness of it the whole time, Oh, so we were right in that prediction for sure. We were talking about this and what was it? eSWAT was the other arcadey game that we were thinking about? Yeah, I think eSWAT, yeah. When we were deciding between those two, like you feel it the whole time for sure. Yeah. So we get a specific day on this release date, a rarity for the time, and it was released on September 1st, 1990 for North America. The only thing on this day I cared about, and even that's not really, was the Toronto Argonauts and BC Lions playing a 68-43 game in favor of the Argonauts, which is the highest combined score in CFL history, 111 points. And that is a lot of tutties, Jay. It's probably the same number of tutties Josh Allen is going to score tomorrow against the Cincinnati Bengals.
It would not be an ISOH podcast if there was not a Josh Allen or...
Correct. Whoopi Goldberg, Demi Moore, Patrick Swayze jam Ghost is number 1 at the box office, and If Wishes Came True from Sweet Sensation had its 1-week run in the top position on the Billboard Top 100 here on this week. That is the release. With the artwork, we get an illustrated style look at a white blonde mullet dude wielding a sword and hanging from some steel structure that looks like he can't possibly be named Hyrule, in my opinion.
Dude.
But
come on. There's absolutely no way this dude is not Hi Ryu or however you pronounce his name. I'm gonna say it wrong every single time on purpose, but it's definitely not this guy.
Right. There is more than one disconnect between game and marketing materials with this. So yeah, that's not the first time we'll feel that way, I don't think.
I'm like, they clearly said make this dude American.
Like this is North America. North America-fy the fuck out of this. So some cronies behind him are in pursuit, and I guess that's maybe some St. Petersburg-style architecture with the building backdrop. And, after playing the game, I would say for certain there's a lot of USSR sitting here, like I said. So we have the black thatch border, obviously, and the title treatment down below in a futuristic font with one of the cool Strider swords cutting through the D. And this is way jankier than the NES box art, I would say. And the sword the white guy has isn't a Strider sword. So it's all a pretty bad job, I think, again, it's just a very disconnected. It's funny, this is Capcom too. There's all the jokes about the original Mega Man. They just, who knows? And actually, here's the thing. This one, you could maybe gets pinned on Sega of America because they published this. So maybe they were the ones that did this bad job, and we shouldn't be grouping Capcom's Mega Man travesty with this. But either way, it looks pretty janky. It has
it looks pretty janky. Have you ever seen or heard of Flash Gordon?
Yes, for sure.
Oh my gosh. That's what this guy is. They basically said, give me Flash Gordon. Give me a blonde white dude in tights with a space sword. Done.
Yeah.
This guy is not a ninja. He's not Ryu. That's not him.
Yep.
Tell me this is not Flash Gordon. In purple
that's
tights.
Good. That's funny. Flash Gordon, yeah, that's good. That's good. I support that analogy. So it also has a bubble on the front that reads 8 mega memory. That is just a perfect example of one of those things meant to confuse consumers into thinking this was a good thing, despite their having no clue what it meant. It was the first ever 8 mega cart for the system. I guess the developers decided while they were making the game, it was necessary to come anywhere near the arcade version they were trying to port, so they demanded it. And in rare fashion, usually you read a lot if you dive deep into video game development history of this time, you hear that a lot, developers wanting more, and they're just the publishers or the fucking companies are just fuck off, figure it out. So it's pretty cool that they were they listened. They made the fucking request, and it was actually listened to and adhered to. Is kind of somewhat of a. But that's why it's the first one. It's so rare. That's why it's the first one. But yeah, 6 mega was the original plan. And disclaimer: I have no idea, just like the consumers of the time, what any of this means. I'm always completely flummoxed by the megabits verbiage in this console area. I know what a fucking megabyte is, but I have no idea what a megabit is. And I've tried to read it and try to figure it out, and maybe I've even consumed the information, digested it, and understood it at some other time. But currently, I have no idea what the difference between a megabyte and a megabit is. I'm pretty sure there's a difference, though.
But when you're 10, 12, 14, all you need to know
it's more bits. It's more bits, right? Yeah.
More bits is better graphics. That's all you need.
Yeah, that's true.
Everywhere, anything else, and you're a freaking nerd.
Yeah, right. Yep. The back of the box has 3 great screenshots, and the main event of them features a dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex to be exact. So these guys knew what the fuck they were doing. And yeah, the text leads off with probably all you need for a synopsis. And maybe I'll edit the previous one I gave you guys and just use this. Take on all the explosive action of the arcade hit. You're Strider, a crunching hulk of muscle with a grappling hook and laser sword. You're in a future land of backwards time, and its evil master is taunting you with defeat. And I think all of that is not factually in line with the game story, but it's all a kid would.
What did you just say? Wait a minute.
Yeah, but a kid would need to want to play the game. It's hilarious. Like I said, it's just a huge disconnect that has nothing to do with the actual game. But a kid reads that and yeah, I want all those things. Grappling hooks, laser sword, yeah, future land, dinosaur, yeah.
Let's roll.
Yeah. You also want to say maybe that's why the GamePro. Maybe that's what the GamePro was harking to. This abstract part of this in small game, or this one game in the magazine. Maybe that's what they were putting on the cover. So maybe they weren't so off base as we tried to analyze. Does specify it's only one player here on the back, a fact that really bummed me out. This would have been a dope-ass couch co-op sesh, I think,
yes,
if it had 2 players. So the manual, which will be in the show notes, is 22 pages, color covers, and black and white contents, as all Sega of America manuals were. Pages 8 and 9 go beyond the basic control set and break down all the additional attack techniques, and it's really just a confirmation you can attack at any time. Running, jumping, climbing, hanging, squatting, your plasma sword is always ready to party no matter what your posture is, and that is how this game should be, and it's cool that that's the case. Pages 10 and 11 are an item breakdown, and it's explained that items can be obtained from little silver containers that appear either standalone or in the grasp of a flying enemy called Moskmen. And the items that you can pick up are a sword icon. They describe this as making your sword more devastating. Love that. Standing figurine is a 1-up. There's a running figurine that's invincibility. I don't think I ever got one of those. Chinese symbol, meaning high, replenishes 1 block of HP. And then there's a Chinese symbol that means Ryu, adds 1 block of max HP. The combining of both those symbols fully replenishes all of your HP. So I think that was that's an interesting way of doing that I really like, that, I don't think I've ever seen before,
Fair enough. But let me ask you a question, Josh. Did you feel like at any point in play, and I feel like this is a good time to bring this up, that you had the time to actually sit and look at this and evaluate?
Oh, no.
This is the Ryu symbol.
No, I have no. But yeah, American, no idea. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter. It's just cool. It's just cool looking to
exactly.
an American kid in fucking 1990. Like Chinese symbols, legit.
I'm just saying, like, in play.
No,
if I would break a brick and it'd be floating, and I'd see a symbol, I'm like, I don't know which one that is. Is it worth me to risk?
Well, here's the thing.
Like, I have no idea.
Here's the thing, though. The caveat to that is none of those things isn't worth going for.
True. That's true.
I guess if you're full HP,
but if you're if you have full life, and
but even then, you would still, if it wasn't in a dangerous place, you would still pick it up.
Probably still grab it.
Yeah.
I'm specifically thinking about the part where like it's rotating platforms and some of them are spiky, and it's like each one, like almost every one had an item on it. So I'm like, I'm gonna go after them, and I kept dying, like trying to go after the shiny things. Give me the shiny things.
Second stage, that fucking part sucked. Yeah. One of many. Also, 200 and 400 denomination point pickups. Who gives a fuck? Page 12 is a breakdown of 3 robot assistants you can find, like Roombas, but they can fuck shit up. There's one that's called Dipodal Saucer. You can get up to 2 of these at once, and 1 block of your life turns red with each acquisition. While in tow, they fire electric blasts in the direction of your sword swings, and when you're not attacking, they move around you, charging into enemies and fragging them, kind of kamikaze style. And they disappear when you get hit enough to lose the block of life that they turned red when you pick them up. And this is an amazingly cool, a very subtle, but a very, very cool, I don't know, just game mechanic, I guess, that I don't think I've ever seen before. Like, basically, I mean, I might talk about it later too, more I definitely will, actually. But I was able to at one point, route one of these things to my position 1 energy bar. And then, without dying, replenish my life. So it doesn't, like, move. Like, if you have 1 life left when you pick one of these things up, it ties to that 1 life. And even after you fill your life back up, the block, because when that red block, when that block of life that you picked them up with, when you lose that, obviously if it's your last one, you die. But any other position, if that block goes away, you lose the robot. But if you route it to your first block and then replenish your life, the next time you get hit, the robot doesn't go away. You lose the life that's been replenished. So if you can route one to your position 1 HP bar, you never lose that robot. And that's incredible. That's really cool, really different, really unique, I think. And I was able to do that at one point, and especially with save scumming, I was able to keep one of these things in tow for much of the game. That was a huge asset, I think. Especially with the biggest thing these things do is when you're on those inclines, and you obviously can't attack the thing that's just right in front of you because it's up higher, these things will just fucking tear ass up the hill and just blow shit up, which is a really, really nice fucking feature. They also will kill shit that's flying around. These things are fucking great. And if you can get 2 of them is amazing, man. Once I figured that out, I was like, it was like a side quest the entire rest of the game to get down to 2 life, route 1 to my second life bar, and then replenish my life and have 2 of these things rooted at the bottom of my life bar the whole game, So just a really cool way of implementing these that, again, I don't think I've ever seen before.
I can tell we had 2 vastly different playthroughs. Because I consider these things largely useless.
Well,
an afterthought. So more of an afterthought. Not largely useless, but an afterthought.
There's a thing about... I don't want to get into it here. When we get into the game, there's a thing about this game that I can totally see why you would think that. Yeah. But the second robot is a pteropodal robopanther, and you can only get this when you have 2 saucers rolling with you already, and those disappear in favor of this bad boy. So this thing only wrecks shit for a limited time before it runs away and the saucers return. And it can also be lost via taking damage in the same way as the saucer. So to be honest, I don't think I ever got this, because keeping 2 of the saucers in tow long enough to get another one is borderline impossible. so I don't think I ever even saw this. Would have been cool though. And
I think I got it briefly, and then it was gone. I took
Yeah.
damage like shortly thereafter. It was like, well, all right.
Sucks. So there's a third one called the Hawk Robot, and it's also a limited time pickup, but has no damage taking dependency. It circles above you and pummel chooks anything and everything it touches. So I got this one time, I think. I want to, might even have been in the first level, but I did not see this all that often. But cool things, I love having these like robot companions. This is really cool thing that I wish the NES one would have had. Pages 13 through 16 are level breakdowns that have screenshots and decent little copy blurbs. I'll read or will read as we encounter them in our playthrough. And there are survival hints on page 17. The first 3 can be summated as get good at the game, and that while some areas of it are easy, some are going to really piss you off, which are all true facts. And the last tells you to watch the demo after the title screen carefully because there's a teaching tool in there. And Sega is so big on this. I don't know, do you remember Wonder Boy 3 for sure had it, and I believe Revenge of Shinobi had bomb drops in their demos too. Like that's just like that's like a company agenda to put things in the demos that supposedly are, if not necessary, incredibly helpful in the actual.
So did you actually do that then? Because I definitely did not.
I watched it, and I don't know what the fuck I was supposed to glean from it. I don't know. Wonder Boy 3's actually had something that was helpful.
Right.
Like, super
that
helpful.
I remember.
Yeah. Going down into that well was like, that was really important and good information. But yeah, I think the Revenge of Shinobi one, same thing. I was like, I don't see whatever. It was probably the thing that we didn't do the whole game. We didn't even realize that what was being able to block with the shurikens or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's probably what was in there.
What do you mean?
Yeah. We also have the Sega manual staple scorekeeping grid on page 18, and we out on the manual. How about history, Jay? Well, history and Game Genie codes. Do you have either thing?
Yeah. So as far as history, the only really thing that I found, which was surprising to me, was a magazine which I love. I talk about it all the time. EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly. It was like my go-to gaming mag as a teen. They declared this Game of the Year in 1990. So that
I told you
automatically got my attention and had me like my ears perked up. Just shocking.
It's incredibly revered, dude. There's just an endless supply of which is hilarious to me after having played it. And that's not to discount that being true necessarily, but there was a very conscious acknowledgement in my posting for this of the difficulty and the borderline impossibility of some areas, So those things don't usually coincide. Usually it's either like this game is fucking impossible or this game is good and fun and reasonable.
It's usually definitely not both.
Yeah, it's funny to hear them butting heads a little bit.
That's really all there is in terms of notable history. However, there are several Game Genie codes that did not make me feel like I was cheating.
Okay.
The main one I used.
That's the name of the segment. Game Genie codes that did make me feel like I was cheating.
That's literally what I wrote down. What used? Infinite Players. Definitely used that. AJFAEA26. Definitely had to use that at some point because, I assumed, and we'll talk about it.
Me too, but it was just my F2 button. Or F4 button, rather, or whatever. F2
exactly.
and F4 button.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like that's kind of in the spirit of what we're doing, and I assumed that we had unlimited continues. I was wrong, and we will talk about that later, so this is a great code to use.
I can't believe you assumed that. I would never assume that was one of these fucking old games.
It was more like it was not an assumption, it was more like a hope, and just like, I just assumed that there would be more as I keep going, and eventually they ran out. But outside of that, additionally, codes that I did not use, but I found notable. Invincibility. Love to have invincibility, but that's definitely cheating. So this is outside of that. More health bars, so you can start with like up to 5 health bars.
Okay, so to start with, I thought you were going to say that you can get more than the like amount you can get in the game.
No, but even that's significant,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And then
I save scummed and had 5 the whole game.
Dude, I think I only had 5 like once. I was never operating.
Yeah, fuck dying, dude. You lose your like that sword. Like anytime you got that sword pickup, it was like they didn't give that to you. It was like, oh, here's a sword. This will be fun. Like no, anytime you got that, it was like some shit's about to happen. You'll need this.
Anytime I got that, I was like, hold on for dear life. You know. Unfortunately, I did not consider that a save scum opportunity that I needed to like be that on top of like you. That would have made things much easier.
Late game, I played the whole game with one finger on that fucking thing.
Not surprised.
I'd have to.
But the other notable, so there's several codes that I found, but the other notable one, Strider has no legs. Why would you want to have a code where he's just a torso?
I don't know, but GamePro would lose their fucking mind if they knew that was possible. Fucking just talk. This fucking device sucks. That's fun. That's fun. Yeah. That's those are the cool ones, man. You're breaking the game code. So like really break it. Show me how much we can break it. So did you try it?
I did not. I was actually going to try that before this, and I got caught up freaking adulting. I was like, darn it! Like, that's
I would. Yeah, I mean, you have to assume that it's just a visual thing, but like, I want to know, like, does it change your movement at all? Like
do you stay up here floating, or are you like scraping the ground?
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's the kind of shit you find just fucking with a Game Genie as a kid too, just like punching codes in, like, wonder what's gonna happen. Like that was such a fun activity, just like who the fuck knows? Like anything, literally anything it could happen when I fucking just put in some random shit here. So let's fucking go. Or even taking the codes and tweaking them a little. Like okay, this one has something to do with jumping. I'm just gonna switch 2 here and just keep trying to do a bunch of new combinations with just 2 of them changing each time and just seeing if it's slightly tweaked, whatever. There was just so much cool shit you could do with that. That was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, you'd find, I could definitely see that happening with these codes, because there's some random stuff, like, die and you complete the stage, like, what? Like, that's a random outcome, or the reverse, like, you have 30 seconds to complete each phase. Like,
the fucking timers.
No thank you.
Yeah, oh my god, the timers in this game, holy fuck. I don't know if I've ever played a game where the timer was more limiting. Okay. Well, I did not do any economic now. I thought for sure I would too. I ended up, I don't know, laziness. Just lazy. I gotta stop being lazy. There's no question. There's something in here for sure. This dystopian, slightly futuristic. There was something in here for sure. Building a third moon or something. There's definitely something in here to figure out, but I didn't. Nothing came to mind. Song, getting us into our playthrough of Strider on the Sega Genesis. And we start with the Sega logo in silence, and then we cut to Mayo dominating much of the screen, looking down on Hi Ryu. Yeah, so Hi Ryu. I mean, let's figure that out. Hi Ryu? Hi Ryu. It's got to be Hi Ryu.
Because of the way they break it down in the manual, it's like, and I've always think of Ryu as Ryu, so it's got to be like Hi Ryu, right?
Yeah, it's definitely 2 syllables, so it's got to be Hi Ryu. So yeah, let's go with that. Looking down at Hi Ryu in front of him, Hi Ryu with his back to us. That's definitely a second syllable, makes that harder to say though. So before you can really even take that in, Mayo grasps at Hi Ryu. Hi Ryu responds by slashing with his sword and cutting the image of Mayo in 2. The 2 halves fly apart, revealing the title treatment in baby blue over a purple watermark of the Chinese characters for Hi Ryu. Press start button flashes a few times before the demo starts, and yeah, I have no idea. I watched it, I have no idea what I'm supposed to learn from it. Pressing start takes you to a plain white text menu on a black card. Start in options. The options menu has different difficulty levels, easy, normal, and hard. And note, in the normal and hard levels, the difficulty changes depending on your own skill. Can you adjust to the different attack styles of the enemies? And that's what the manual says, is where I'm getting that from, and I wish I had a more detailed explanation of that. I do not know what that means.
Yeah, I took note of that when reading the manual, but then, like, in the game, like, I don't know how to tell that, you know? But I found it very fascinating.
Yep, so. For sure. Yeah, the idea, you know, the suggestion is there that it has a level of AI I don't believe the Genesis is capable of. So, so you know, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe there's like, if with the levels timed, maybe there's like checkpoints. Like if you don't hit, because you know how if you die, it naturally starts you over at certain points in the stages. Maybe it's kind of like if you don't hit, you know, this point by 30 seconds, you know, instead of 10 enemies here, there are 7 enemies or something like that. You know, I don't know. That's
a reasonable code-based idea for sure. Yeah, I played on normal with 5 lives. How did you play?
I definitely played on normal. Wait,
you can change lives. You can change the difficulty level as well as the number of lives, which is cool.
I left it at 3. I should have put it at 5. I made life harder for myself. But.
Yeah, you can choose 3, 4, or 5, and it's a very not common customization, I would say. Something that would.
Although when I died and lost all my continues, I considered starting over on easy. I was like, I might just start over.
Yeah. Did you know? You did or you didn't?
No, I didn't. I thought about it, but I did not.
I'd be curious to hear if you could feel a difference.
No, I can't. I couldn't live with myself if I just came in here like, yeah, dude, I failed and did it on easy. Yeah.
Well, that's a phenomenal philosophical debate, Jay. Is it worse to not beat it on normal or to have to go to easy to beat it? Which is worse?
I mean, to have to go to easy to beat it.
Yeah,
like I
just because it has the word. Honestly, I think that's just because the word "easy" is in it, though.
Yes.
Probably. It's just that psychosomatic.
To me, in any game, when you give me the option to change difficulties, to me, the normal option is like, this is how you intended the game to be played. So I'm going to play it that way.
Right.
And I only do like story mode or lower. If it's like, okay, like I literally just only care about the story, or like the combat sucks, or I have to have a damn good reason to like put it to change difficulty down, you know.
All fair approaches to life. I agree. There's a sound test also. It has 77 different cues, and that's a fuck ton of sound cues for a sound test. So good job with that.
Did you do any of those? Like, I don't.
No, I don't ever go through them, but it's awesome that if you're a sound test person, that's probably like, fuck, that's good.
I can see that.
Yeah, I've never been a sound test person, but I'm sure they're out there. They wouldn't be in these games, you know, or in so many games, I should say. When you click start, it cuts to a starfield with a Cobra Commander-esque belly laugh heard, and then a gigantic sprite of Mayo flies up from below and passes through frame, holding what looks like Earth in his hands. And he's also covered in turquoise flames. Then it cuts to a night sky over a dense residential neighborhood, I think, maybe? what that's supposed to be. And then text flies in from screen right. Half is in gold font and Russian language, marked with a red star, and the other half reads AD 2048. So I consulted the esteemed Lord Disciples via the Facebook page about a translation on this, and the noble, at least the first, there were actually many who weighed in and supported this, but the noble Christopher Denote explained it means Soviet Socialist Republic. He added, and this is why I also would cite his over any other, because he not only did he translate it, he also gave further explanation and context. So he really knew his shit, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he added that Kazakhskaya is an adjective, so it's Kazakh SSR. So the game assumes that the Soviet Union continues into the 2040s. And here's the thing about that. That date of 50 years after the story outlined in the manual doesn't make much sense, but what are you going to do? Another example of manual and game not fucking being on the same page. You know, and I mean, it's so much better and sensible for it to be 2048 instead of 1998. So
right.
I would much rather take the game's fucking shit here than the manuals, but whatever the case.
Like, it's much more believable that this dude is going to fly in 2048.
Right.
Like, connected to a little machine like this. Like, give me some futuristic.
Yeah.
believability.
Nah, yeah, it all checks out a whole lot better if it's in 2048, no question. Hi Ryu then flies in from screen right with a glider of some kind, or from screen left, I should say, with a short ditty called Defense Line. As he lands on a steel girder set in front of a backdrop of those St. Petersburg architecture buildings, and we are playing Strider. So let's talk controls. HUD. As the acrobatic skill set of your dude would suggest, controls are not just your basic bitch attack, jump, run stuff. You can climb and squat with the D-pad in addition to horizontal movement. A or C is jump, so it's funny that there's such complexity in the moveset of this game, but it has mirrored buttons. The A and C button did the same thing, so it's funny to me that that's the case. But there's something you can hang on from above. You can automatically grab onto it and hang from it when you jump. And then the B button swings the Falchion, which is what they call your plasma sword. And additional moves are, there's a sliding attack, so you hold down on the D-pad and hit A or C, and you can slide through tight spots or into enemies, so it does damage as well. And then there's the cartwheel jump, right or left in AC. And the turning here makes you more elusive, the manual claims. I don't know about that, but this is one of the few gripes I have about controls in this game. The inertia expectations, which, if a fucking physicist was sitting here, they'd go, yeah, bitch, you got to be moving to go sideways when you jump. But that's not how all video games work, and I think this video game is a tough one to need to be running already or moving to jump left or right. There's a lot of times when you want to jump right or left in this game, but you're forced to do it from a very tight platforming situation, and you want to jump right or left, and you just jump straight up, and it fucked you. And that happened to me a lot in this game, and is easily, other than maybe one other thing, probably my biggest bitch about it. So that's one thing.
Interesting.
You didn't run into that?
I didn't find that a problem at all.
Oh, man. Yeah, if you're standing still and there's, I don't know how many times I wanted to be able to be standing still and then jump somewhere and not having it.
I feel like I've come across that so much in other games that I'm just kind of used to, if that's necessary, kind of just adapting immediately and kind of just forgetting it. So maybe I thought that at first and then adapted immediately and completely forgot.
I guess I'm gonna die because I haven't made that adaptation. As for the feel of controlling Hi Ryu, it's in general, like I said, other than that thing, it's great. I think it's smooth, it's responsive, none of that arcade rigidity we talked about for eSWAT, and the animations for it all are fluid and sensible and like what they should be. The hitboxes and enemy interactions feel right. There's nothing to complain about as far as the actual boxes, but my other big fucking bitch about this game would be your damage feedback is not.
My gosh, dude.
It's not good, dude.
My gosh,
it's not.
yes.
There's no knockback, which is, I like that, of course, that there's no knockback to slow you down, but you don't know if you're doing damage to them. And I guess in most cases you are. I can't think of too many situations outside of boss battles where you're doing. That's situations. I don't know about that for that though. But yeah, I can't think of a lot of situations where I was, hitting something and I ended up feeling like it wasn't doing damage by hitting it that way. Again, outside of boss battles. So. Maybe that isn't, you don't need it, and it's just me wanting video game fucking parachutes that don't need to be there. But it felt at times frustrating that I didn't know whether I was doing damage or not, and that is tough, especially for a game where you're killing shit constantly.
Man, I felt the same way, and I largely ignored it, and sometimes I would just play with music on in my headphones and just be like, whatever, I'm just, I don't need to hear the sound of this game.
The music's great, though. You should.
The music definitely is good. It's just at certain points when I was dying over and over, and I'm just like, I hear this freaking song again. I
need something. I need to listen to something soothing.
I need to lock in.
Yeah. It's the kind of game where you can't listen. You got to turn the music down and put headphones on with sounds of waves crashing or something. Or rain on a tin roof.
Listen to Bruce Lee. You must be like water. Get through this part.
Something common,
Yeah.
Okay, the HUD is a small black horizontal strip at the top of the screen. There's current and high scores on the left, remaining players and remaining time to complete level in the middle, and then a life gauge on the right. You start with 3 bars. It can be increased up to 5 in the game, as we have kind of already covered. So, that glider dropped us off, and they're called rounds in this game, not stages, according to the manual. The first round is called Kazfu. And I thought we, again, could read the manual descriptions of these because I think they paint good pictures. So if you could start us with the first one, Jay. And I should have mentioned that before we started, so you had it ready to go. But
all right. Round 1. Kazafu. Hang glide into a city under siege. Scale the rooftops, battling Russian soldiers, scoundrels, and mosque men attacking from all angles. Activate your dipodal saucers to help destroy enemies on inclines and downslopes. Slide under the deadly spikes to face Stroybaya, the bone-crushing muscle man. Then leap away from the searing flames. Jump and hang. Go high. Get low. Demolish Novo, the multi-directional laser emitter. Follow the staircases and watch out for traps and sneak attacks. Annihilate Ouroboros, the terrifying metal menace, and conquer the city.
So I've talked some shit about the manual already. One thing I think this manual is incredible at is these descriptions for the levels take on this like frenetic, action-minded pacing and language that is very on brand for what we're doing here, you know?
Yes.
And I think that's a really cool, because it's not even, they're not really even describing the world. They don't spend a lot of time with flowery adjectives and stuff. It's describing with flowery language your path through them.
Yeah.
Which is very active. It's just a very active choice in language and writing for a game that is predicated on that. And it's an interesting and unique choice that I don't think we've seen a ton.
It's a summary, and I appreciate it. 'Cause instead of like explaining to me like, or giving me a long map, it's kind of just like, this is what you're doing. Like, oh, I might have to get high. I might go low. Or, you know, it's like, this is very helpful.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think it's really cool and a really good choice for this. So 129 is the amount of time on your timer when you hop off that hang glider, at least on normal. I guess, like you said, maybe it's different if you have a different difficulty level set. But I was thinking, like, when I first got dropped in, I was thinking 89 seconds is a very small amount of time, regardless of the task. You quickly learn that it resets at various milestones in the stage, but I was assuming that was what I had to beat an entire stage, whatever the first stage might be, difficulty / lengthwise, and that was a little bit, is this like a first, taking the world in thing. I was like, fuck, that's what the fuck, and that's not to say that timer isn't a problem, but it does reset at least, so it's not like ridiculous at all times.
Yeah. It's funny because I didn't really, it was only like this first level, I think. Was it this first or second level? The first or second level is when I actually ran out of time. And like after that, I never ran out of time again. But like it was only one of these first couple levels, messing around, doing stuff, exploring, you know what I mean? That I was like, oh snap, I ran out of time and then died. And I was like, oh, all right, so I got to get my butt moving,
I mean, I guess here's the thing. You're not one of the few upsides to not playing with like ridiculous saves coming is, you cook along. You're not burning any time. You're not. It's not when you're taking the save scumming approach, and especially the way I note take. I don't know how you do it, but I am very like stop and fucking write a bunch of shit. Like so, I'm taking my sweet time, and a timer is a bigger problem for me. Just the way I approach these, I think maybe than like a traditional gameplay would be. So yeah, it was a problem for me on numerous occasions. So yeah, we're dropped off on that scaffolding that they mentioned in the description, and there's flames shooting straight up into the sky out of a nozzle at the end of the platform, and a laser light show going on behind you, and it's kind of like the start of a concert or something, not the infiltration point for a super secret military operation.
Right? At first, I'm like, are those laser beams hitting me? I was like, no, I'm good. That's in the background.
Yeah, no, they're doing a show for me. They're not fucking. It's not, it's I don't know. It's a little contrary to what the vibe should be, I think. Unless, I guess, unless you like your counterpoint is like, this is how this town always is. It's always like a concert. Which is, I guess that's fun, but also interesting.
Yeah.
You get a solid gun barrage from both sides as you proceed across some uneven ground that you have to do a wee bit of your cartwheel jumping across before you first are presented with a container drop with a dipodal saucer bot. And yeah, I quickly learned the ease with which these come and go. Almost makes them, yes, feel unnoticeable at first. So I get you on that. They can be lost so easily if, because it's just that you just have to take one hit, and you take lots of hits in this game. So yeah, I can get why you feel that way. Doing it the way I would eventually do it with the rooting to a low thing made it very different and made me much more aware of them because it was always there and I could watch what they do. And I would, because I had more time with them, I was able to figure out how to, I don't want to say you have the ability to deploy them because they do just work autonomously, but as the manual described, they do different, if you're attacking, they do one thing. If you're not attacking, they do something else. So you can kind of strategically get close enough to something for them to attack it, but you're out of harm's way and you can just stand there. Another reason probably why time was a problem for me. Now that I say it out loud. But yeah, you can kind of let them do the dirty work in a place that is hard for you to necessarily attack or get to or deal with. And that is a really nice bonus plan that they can bring to your game.
That makes sense. I didn't do any of that.
I
whenever I would see a canister drop and I was out of harm's way and there was no danger happening, I would absolutely get it because it might have that freaking sword, that extra long sword. I'm definitely getting that. But if there's danger happening and a canister drops, I'm not going after it. Yeah. Especially since there's definitely times when I feel like that was the main reason that canister was dropped there, was to get me to try to get it while there's stuff firing at me.
It's Capcom. They're putting those Mega Man heads in death spots for sure.
And so I just quickly adopted if I get a canister, great. Otherwise, I'm not going out of my way. It is just not vital.
This
gotta go.
we talked about that. We were simpatico for that on Ghouls and Ghosts. In this case, we are diametrically opposed, I think, because I am getting those things under. That's the primary modus operandi, I believe, is the term.
Well, I feel like there's definitely been times. There's times here and there where I would keep dying, and maybe it's because I would keep getting hit by something, and I was like, let me try and get this canister to see if that helps. I see a canister way out there. That would happen every now and then. So it's not every situation, but if there's danger, it's canister not a priority. Just immediately.
Okay, you trundle up some hills and wall climbing opportunities before cresting the climb and getting another bot drop that clears a path down below on the slope, which that's another example of when you have the changing, all the altitude changing going on in this game, and you just don't have, your attack is not suited for that kind of landscape necessarily,
Yes. I kept thinking there would be a swing up, and there was not. I was like, really? I can't swing it upward? It's okay.
Those robots are meant to be, I think, the answer to that problem in the gameplay.
Fair enough.
So you get down, as you start to go down this slope, there's a fork in the road, and you can jump onto a large oval object that for the first 25 times I played this level was free and clear up there, so I would go that route. But the very last time I played the level, a beam of some kind was shooting straight up from the top of it, and I had no idea how to make that no longer the case. It was a continuous beam, so I couldn't go through there. So I don't know what catalyzed that being the case. It wasn't there for the other 25 times, like I said, but whatever the case, I had to go down below, and that has a row of 3 hanging spears that stab downward at different intervals that are not easily calculated and avoided. So it wasn't a really easy fucking linear stabbing fucking sequence or anything. So I'm guessing a slide is your best bet here, but I always forget to do that when I was going through this part. So it was just it's teaching you mechanics, and the slide numerous times in this game. Actually, I would just forget I had that available to me, and
same.
That was the first instance of that, I should say. So just a little further down, the ones and zeros is a mini boss battle, your first in the game, against Sting from the WCWJ, not Hulk Hogan. That's fucking Sting, circa 1990. What are you talking about? He's got a flat top. He's not Hulk Hogan. Are you out of your mind? Jay here called that Hulk Hogan before we got on the recording here, and it makes me question his entire existence, because how could you not know? I don't even like WCW, and I know that that's Sting. I never liked WCW, I should say. WCW was the redheaded stepchild of wrestling.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I was not into it. I can't believe anyone watched it. It blows my mind. It was so mundane compared to WWF.
Hey, they had their moments. They had their stars. They had Ric Flair and Sting and like Lex Luger.
All those guys
Torture
eventually
rack.
came to the WWF though. They poached all of them.
Yes. Yeah. But then at the same time, people like Hulk Hogan and stuff went to the WCW. So it was like the weird.
Well, that was later. That was after. I think that was when they consolidated. Actually, I don't think. Did they? Was that?
No, it happened before. It happened before.
Did it? Okay. I stopped watching before that. I stopped watching before NWO became a thing. I was. Yeah. That was mid to late.
That was right on the edge when I started being like, okay, like late 90s, and then I was like 17 or so, and that's when I went off to college and I was done.
I would say probably 13, 14 is maybe when I got off.
Oh, I see.
Razor Ramon was my last hurrah.
Oh, man. I stuck around a lot longer than you.
Yeah. In any event,
fair enough, but like Sting did not have those signature colors. It's the colors that immediately.
I think he did. I think he originally did. I think he was yellow and red when he first. But before he became.
No. He didn't have like one set color scheme. His main color scheme that I remember is like a blue. Okay. Like a blue color, but otherwise he was like changing it off. I'm not
gonna get on any hill and die about Sting's outfit choices in 1990. Like I said, that wasn't my jam, but I know
hairstyle, fair enough. Yeah, but like that's all.
Yeah, whichever one of your favorite wrestlers you equate this to. The first thing I want to see this motherfucker actually was, if you're making an action platformer in 1990 and you don't put a WWF wrestler in it, what are you even doing with your life? Like what kind of development team do you have if you're making an action fucking testosterone fueled platformer in 1990 and you don't have some WWF wrestlers in there? You're just fucking up. So.
And he rips off his shirt. Like, come on now. Yeah. Only Hogan rips the shirt off first. So they tried to bite hard. I was like, come on.
An amalgamation, fine. So he's standing up on a small platform above the one Hyrule is on, doing meathead things. Yeah, he's flexing or just yelling with his arms in the air. Hard to really say what the exact thing is, but it's definitely very aggro. And he drops down, and if you're really hammering him, he dies so fast, albeit a bunch more yelling, that you really can't even get a feel for any attack patterns or anything. So I don't even know what he does. But he dies, like flames. When he dies, flames fall from the ceiling and cover the entire width of the floor, except the small space below the platform he was on. So after a few times through this stage, I learned just to run below him as soon as I come into the room, and then frag him from there so the flames miss me when he dies, because he drops down kind of in front of you, So his death animation is kind of interesting. I'm screenshotting shit to post things, and I happened to catch a screenshot just as he was starting to the first step of his death, and it's like this really grotesque breaking apart thing. He looks like
I noticed that too.
Yeah, he looks like he's fucking like I don't know. It's really gross looking.
It's like, did animation break midway through there? Like like mid morph. Like.
Yep. Then the customary video game baddie death explosion kicks in, and all is right again. So like he goes from that one frame of weird to like just boom, blows up like a normal fucking enemy in a game. A little bit of enemy-free climbing and swinging from there up to another scaffolding platform, and you find a container with a robot that just flies away immediately. And like this, I think this is the one time I got the Hawk, and like I got it, and I was wondering, was that the Hawk robot? Like, I thought, I don't know, it just went away. It seemed it didn't do shit for me. So yeah, like I wasn't sure. Like I don't know, I didn't know what to think of it, but I definitely had like a fleeting moment of just like. Huh?
I had that happen multiple times, and that's another that further just led my be like, forget these canisters. Like it's like you never know what's going to happen there.
Another ascent sequence follows that, accompanied by Bang a New Tune. That's called the Raid Song, and they introduce some cool strategy opportunity here that I appreciated once I was able to discern its advantage. The bipedal robots that come around the hills and shit, like they you want it kind of just deploying them, but basically this was a moment in the game where I first realized, I guess is the overarching point here, that this game seems like just this mindless button jamming fucking fest, right? But they did a pretty good job of jamming in spots where if you stop and think before you just run into something, your life can be better. And not all action games have that. A lot of action games are just fucking barreling into shit and just keep hitting the button until everything. Yeah, just keep hitting the button until everything's dead. And like, I hate that. I want to think. I want to fucking be posed real-time strategy problems while I'm playing a game, even if it's an action game. And this was the first time where I thought that to myself. Like, the smart money here is cartwheeling over to the platforms at left, and so that you're going up these things, and those like fucking bipedal robots are coming down. They look kind of a little bit like, I don't know what to equate those to, but they're just like, they're just like it's just like a set of legs and a fucking torso, I guess is what to call them. They look like they've been chopped in half, or like a robot chopped in half or something. So these things are coming down the slopes, and you can't. Again, it's one of those, like I said, you can't attack up a slope. So the smart thing to do is you just jump over to these platforms on the left and just wait for those things to fucking go and never even deal with them. And most action games, you kill everything. So like, this is a situation where if you think you can get through this and not take any damage, but you have to take the smart route, not the fucking kill everything route. And I really appreciated that when I noticed it early on. So I noticed around here, the music keeps playing even when you pause the game. And that's a Battletoads thing.
Yes, it's so different. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so it's cool for taking notes for a podcast that you get to keep listening to music, but it's a bad feature if you're up past bedtime trying to play the game incognito in your bedroom without mom finding out. So there's pluses and minuses to these choices from developers, you know. Right. At the peak of this sequence, you get swarmed by maybe a half dozen Moskmen, but with nothing else up here, you can handle it, and it's really just a container pickup cache, I would call it, at the top of that, like, I guess it's a roof building is what it is, not a mountain, yeah. But there's a sword power-up in here, the first one that I got anyways. I don't know if it's the first one in the game, but I'm pretty sure it is. And then there's an extra life max unit, bumping you up to 4 bars, so I dig both those things. And I also noticed here that, this is where... That's where the saucer thing happened to me. So from this point on in the game, I have a saucer rooted to my first fucking life bar.
What?
Yeah, so that's when I discovered this.
I played the whole game virtually. Like I had pickups at spots, like I said. But.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even. When I guess the other thing about this is too, like, when I read that description in the manual, I had no idea what it was saying to me.
I didn't get it either.
Yeah, as far as how
I don't know, how do you attack? Like, when are you attacking?
Well, no, I don't mean the functionality, but I mean like the way they describe how it turns a bar red and shit. Like, I read that and I was like, I have no idea what that means. But
that's what I was saying.
Yeah. Once I noticed that fucker hadn't died, even after I'd taken damage for sure. Like, I was like, oh, it's tied to okay, I get it now, you know. So it was just a really cool realization moment for me. So down below this is a domed room you can somehow just walk through the wall of, and inside there's a device that comes up out of the middle of the floor that emits beams of energy that bounce around the room at 90-degree angles, but because the roof is a dome, the movement patterns will vary after bouncing off of it. So this is the thing they mentioned as the boss. So you run to this thing and just fucking frag the shit out of it and like try to get in a spot where the beams aren't going to hit you. Easier said than done necessarily, but it is a somewhat predictable thing. And after that blows up, you fall through the floor after the machine blows up, and it's into this kind of crisscross of stairwells. That's pretty cool. Like, it makes a foreground and background thing going on that in a 2D platformer space you don't. If it is there in a game, it's rarely implemented well, and like, I thought you could reliably traverse this pretty well. Like, you want to go up to the left, there's some pickups on the left, and then you got to kind of you drop down onto the one heading from the bottom left to the upper right, and then you want to jump to the other one, get that pickup, and then come down to go further. Yeah. It was just a cool way of giving depth to the space that I thought was well implemented as well. So. Like, it made me think about, the whole time I'm doing it, I'm thinking about the Castlevania or Moonwalker stairs and how much worse it can be, I guess, is what I was thinking, you know what I mean? So,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
So this game did a much better job of it. So you boot through some grunts, and that a little stint there. They're in red suits instead of green this time, and then you arrive at one of the cooler arenas for a boss battle I've ever seen in the 16-bit era. This is fucking awesome. You go into this room, and it's a high council, like think United Nations-y, but clearly all these dudes are officials of the Soviet state because they're in cookie-cutter unis, a lot of red and gray going on, and they have little helmets with a red star on them, yellow shoulder pads, the same red star on their left breast, and there's a ringleader standing on the floor out in front of them. His hat might be a bit different to signify some special position, I guess, so he looks like a leader, I guess. And he's pointing at Hi Ryu as you enter. And when you get near him, he jumps in the air and transforms into the head of this cyber dragon thing. And then all his constituents sitting in the chairs in the council begin jumping out of their seats and joining him as segments of the body of a serpent form. And this is the terrifying metal menace Bolos, mentioned in the manual description, and it's fucking awesome. It's a really cool boss. And that's, I guess maybe this is the time to say, every one of the bosses in this game is fucking amazing. They look great. Every one of them has a cool, different, varied mechanic. Like the boss design, it's one of the best boss designs games. And that's probably why. That's probably the thing that most, like of all the things we might want to tear out on what makes this game iconic and memorable to all those people who revere it so heavily on the interwebs. Like I think this is probably the thing at the top of most of their lists. Like its boss battles are like this, that's what you remember from games. Like these, and like every one of them are fucking bangers, dude. Every one of them look great, sound great, have great mechanics. The way you beat them is different. It's, everyone, they're in cool arenas. Like everything about them are as epic as they're supposed to be, and it does really good job with those. So that was immediately fucking evident and very, very applaudable. So this thing turns into a fucking dragon, and the front segment has these humanish arms that carries a large sickle, and this thing rather slowly, I would say, floats around the room and up into the rafters at the top of the room before reversing and coming back down to floor level. And you can safely ride on its back when it's down low, so you're kind of just avoiding the sickle and hammer trying to hit the head. And is it worth saying that now? Like, yeah, I mean, this game has a boss rush at the end, and again, I think another thing that makes these boss battles epic is you learn things in this battle that you will need later in that boss rush that are not applicable now, that are or at least are not as important now. They're like riding on this dude's back, and understanding the physics of doing that is critical knowledge for the last stage of the game. And yes, the repercussions for getting it wrong here are nominal. Later, they are severe. And
so different.
Yeah. So that is just like next level boss design in 1990, I think, to teach you something now that you will need to have a better mastery of at the apex of your journey is a really, really cool job of game development, I think. Yep. And that, again, is you don't know that now, but it is the case, and that's really cool.
I jumped on this boss's back, beat it pretty easily. That was not the case with the boss rush version. I was like, no, I'm scooted farther back. I was like, I got to scoot farther back. Like, it just kept multiple times.
Yep. No, and I, like I said, I think maybe his name's Will, one of the Lord disciples. I was fucking bullshit with him about him when I posted some of the last level shit, and he's mentioned basically, he was telling some story about playing the game as a child, and like I think the idea of playing this game on OG hardware and beating it is hysterical.
Whoa, no,
hysterical, impossible, hysterical, ridiculous, unfucking real, and like
if you had a Game Genie, it's possible.
Yeah. Like, even then, this is one of those games that's like, I think even if I'm invincible, I'm gonna fucking, when you fall, I don't care if you're invincible. When you fall in the pit, you're dying anyways. And, so like, it's fucking, so bad. I was like, I'm sure we said it before, but like, this is one of those games that had me thinking, like, there's just no way, and I don't want to be old man on the fucking porch here, too bad, but like, there's just no way that And, there are Dark Souls, there are games now that have this, but I think you're making that choice and it's not nearly as prevalent. There's no way that being put through the ringer of these video games didn't make you more equipped for life than a kid playing video games today. There's just no way. There's no way playing this game as a kid on OG hardware. And there's no solution. Like, the thing is, it's not even necessarily that the game is harder. It's that there were there were no options for circumventing it. You didn't even have. The thing about now is, it's like I always make jokes, like there's no such thing as not knowing how to do something in 2023. You can find the solution in seconds, no matter what it is. I don't care. Someone's got a YouTube video that explains exactly how to do it. Like, doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't fucking matter. There's no such thing as not knowing how to do something anymore. There's an answer on Reddit. There's an answer on YouTube. There's an answer somewhere. All you gotta do is take 7 seconds and you'll find it. In 1990, when you were posed with a problem that seemed impossible, you had to sit in a room and figure it out, or you just were sad. That's it. Those are two options. You either figure it out or you're sad. One or the other. And that's just, some kids probably sat there and were sad. Some learned how to fucking solve problems. And I think that's an invaluable life skill, of course. And I just don't see how kids could possibly have the same level and development of it now with games the way they are relative to how these fucking games were,
I would say if they played only modern games, that could be a problem. It's funny. My kids, one child, I would not pick single the child out. At first, they would always skip around since we have games upon games. Like, you can pick a game, play on any platform pretty much at this point, thankfully. They would fail at a level or lose at a boss and just switch to a different game. And I kept doing that for a while. And I'd always, for a while, just kind of be like, maybe you should try harder at the one that you kept failing at, or instead of encouraging them, I would instead be like, oh, I mean, that's a great opportunity to actually try again and you'll beat it next time. Enough of those kind of comments, right. Don't just jump around because you can just move to a different game. You got to get better at this game. And eventually they learned it. Now they're beating games, but I think it's also because they have been playing retro games as well. So a lot of Sonic, a lot of Mario, where it's you play, you might have a lot of continues, but you're going to try again. Otherwise, you're just not get past it,
Yeah.
And so now they have that fortitude and that try it again effort. I'm like, yes, retro games for the win.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's fucking awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, yeah, I didn't have any trouble with this guy either. I fragged him pretty quickly. So so quickly that you're kind of oh, fuck, I don't have a way to write about this.
I wasn't taking notes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those situations where I gotta load scum load just to get a better feel of what this thing is and what it can do. I don't think it even got up into the rafters. I think I killed it so fast it didn't.
Yeah, I'm rafters. What do you mean? There's no rafters?
If you just let it go, it'll go all. It's all the way off screen too. It completely disappears. So yeah, if you let it drag on, it can demonstrate some pretty good functionality.
I have a very fast trigger finger there. So once I was hitting the head, I was like, jam, you're going down,
Yeah. And you have the sword too, I think, maybe still. So yeah. You can really fuck it up. On Frag, the whole thing bursts into a series of flaming explosions that are well done, and it fades to a black screen with just your sprite and text that explains what your stage clear bonus is, and they fittingly score this with a ditty called Stage Clear. Fun thing about this screen, you have control of High Ryu all the way up to the transition to it. So if you're in the middle of some acrobatic shit, just celebrating your victory, your sprite will be frozen in that position when it cuts to the
Is
stage
that
clear.
what that is?
Yeah, so it's kind of like I think about it like Batman does this, Mega Man does it when you jump through into the boss arena.
Oh yeah, I always do that.
Yeah, exactly. Jump, yeah. So it's that same kind of vibe, and that's pretty fun.
Oh, dude, I didn't notice that. So I think level 3 or round 3, I was struggling to beat it, and when I finally beat it, I got hit at the same time, and I was like, "Oh shit, did I die?" And so I'm frozen in a dot, getting knocked away position. That's cool. And I was like, "Wait, did I win?" And that's the position that it's round clear. And I was like, "Wait." I won. It's such an odd thing.
Dude, that's amazing that you say that. I got a story later. That's cool. Then it's slideshow time, and there are 3 in this case. There are they're small pixel art image with a white border. It kind of reminds me of a Polaroid picture, to be honest with you, and some dialogue text below that. And the first has an older military leader type dude, maybe the Peckerwood that was pointing at you when you walked in the room, and he says, "You really think you can win? You will never defeat the master." And then it cuts to Mayo, and his shadow is so dark in his hood that you can't see his face, and his cherry red painted fingernails are stretched out hands reaching towards the shot POV. Pretty cool. And his dialogue is, "It is Strider Hiryu. He will never leave Eurasia alive." And the last one is a cyborg soldier armed with a big ass gun in each arm, and he says, "I got you." I don't know. Like, is that him talking to Mayo, like, "I got you, bro," or is he him talking to Hiryu, like, "I got you"? Like there's a period, not an exclamation, at the end of the sentence, and that reads to me like the former, So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, weird vibe with that one.
Yeah, I took it as he's saying that to Mayo, like, "I got you," like more like, "I got you, sir."
That seems weird to me. I mean, it makes more narrative sense. And like I said, it also fits with the copywriting, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's a superfluous card. Then we don't like. Of course, he has obviously Mayo's saying that to someone that is going to go do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
But they couldn't just flash it. I guess they could have just been more like, "Go take care of this." You know what I mean? But he just looks, because like there's no helpers. Like there's no, like, except for the robots, which that robot is not a helper. Like Ryu is the person, so it's got to be a bad guy, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we move into round 2 after that, Siberia, and I will read the manual description. A frozen waste awaits. Siberian wolves, crazed with hunger, attack ferociously. Keep moving to escape. Blast a hole in the portal and zip under it. The terrible, towering Mecha Pan jabs at your eyes. Slash him to metal slivers, then leap away. Creepers and snipers assault you in the shaft and on the gear wheels. Grab items. Swing hand over hand and up onto the platform, the only way out. Conquer the peak, but beware the chasm below. Hack through the loading dock armed with deadly electric transformers. Up high, leap aboard the shuttle. You're almost there. Jump ship to keep moving and clamber onto the cruiser. Wipe out the Kunyang, martial arts thugs, and the captain. So far, so good.
Dude, this one got a little difficult, man. This is when I started save scumming. Like, there's a definitive period of playing this game where I was like save scumming, and this is when it started.
I was already doing it. I didn't mention it because it was like I wrote down when I first started the play. I actually wrote down a note when I was beginning the first stage where I was like, this game is like so fast paced, actiony, like, and like, I don't know. I was like, I felt like a writer's block. I felt like I couldn't even. I was like, I don't have anything to say about this. I'm just going, And like, I want to, like, I think maybe that's actually a compliment, not a criticism. And yeah, it was weird. I actually wrote that note down, and like I got going. I was like, no, I have shit to say. And like I deleted that. But like that was the first note I wrote rather about the first level. And so yeah, I was immediately like, I don't know. I was immediately presented with a challenge and immediately into it, in a weird way. So that was interesting to me. Not how I always say. Being in these games, I often feel the skeleton of being in a podcast play or a play for a podcast when I start these games. And this one, I was immediately like, no, I just got to play this game. And that's a different vibe than I usually have. And that was interesting to me.
Well, I started out like playing this initially, just playing the whole round 1, kind of like, all right, I'm just going to get the feel for it, and then I'll start over with a real playthrough. But,
see, that's what I'm saying. I always do that. That's what exactly a perfect example. I always do that. Yeah, I always like. I got to.
But I just kept it going. I didn't actually do it though. Like I did not start over and be like, all right, now I'm going to start taking. I just kind of was like, I think I'm going to save it here. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to just continue from round 2.
Right. So we start here on some frozen tundra, a great-looking mountain range parallaxing in the background, and under a full onslaught from a pack of wolves, at least a dozen of them, I would say. It seems like, yet again, a really poor insertion point for a well-trained military expert, but it is what it is. The wolves are all one-hitter quitters, so you can blow through these and scoop up a sword power-up right before reaching the gate to a subterranean facility built into the mountain. And this is an interesting gate in that if you dawdle with it, it's an infinite gate. So what is an infinite gate, you ask? It's a term I made up for these notes, and it's a segmented barrier that drops down, and you have to break it open with a few sword whacks and slide through that opening before it drops back down, because an infinite number of segments can be added up top to push it down, So you got to break it and hurry up and fucking go through it. And inside is a mini boss battle with a giant mechanical gorilla. It's this thing is justifiably in the box cover screenshots, and based on the light Googling I've done for this episode, it's one of the signature calling cards, like the iconic images from this game. And it does look cool as shit, so I support that. It's about 2 high Ryus tall and just mauls you if you get within its grasp. There is, and this is, again, another example of what I mentioned for the serpent boss. You are given a tool here to deal with this dude that you're not going to have later. So it's almost the inverse of what I said earlier, though, in that you can beat this thing and not really figure out how to beat it. You know what I mean? Because they have a railing hanging from on the left side of the screen here, and you can just jump up there and kind of cheese him with your powered-up sword to take him down, because you got to hit his head. And his fist is down lower around where you would be standing if you were stuck on the ground. So we will later see this guy and not have something to hang from. So if you don't really figure out how to deal with him without the hanging cheese, you're going to have to learn it later. And that's interesting.
2 things. First of all, I died so many times just getting to this part. Getting through the infinite blocks and the dogs, not really utilizing the slide at first and being like, what the heck, man? So many lives. Yeah. Secondly, actually getting here, I had a much harder time with this version hanging from the ceiling than I did during the boss rush.
Really?
Yeah, even though with the boss rush, spoiler alert, there's a dinosaur that comes too. It was much easier to kind of jump and jump easily and slice him. And maybe I had a better sword then, but here, I did not have the long sword. And so I would just constantly get uppercutted off the ceiling, just constantly knocked down. It was such a struggle, dude. Such a struggle.
Yeah, that sounds right. If you don't have the sword, I believe that. So when he explodes into flames, it's the same thing as the first mini boss. All these flames come flying down and shoot all over the place, kind of like a spread shot in every direction that you have to avoid. And then he's guarding a vertical tunnel behind him that you next must ascend. And the sides of this fucking tunnel are patrolled with, oh shit, I just fucked up something. Are patrolled with these little fucking bots, and if you have your saucer bot, you can have it take these things out for you. If you don't have one, I don't know how you get through this part of the game.
You have to climb up one side, slice, keep going, slice again, then go to the other side, slice. But then when stuff starts shooting at you, it gets a little hairy, but you can make it through.
Really?
That's the way I did, because I definitely did not have a bot. And I went up this part a good 6 times before I...
They hum so fast. This might have been one of those situations, might have been where I decided, I'm not letting go of my save scum. Because I'm sure I died a few times or got well, I don't know. So I wouldn't have lost it if it was root of my first one. Whatever the case, I was going through there, and yeah, they come onto the screen so goddamn fast that that would have been very difficult without a fucking bot. So that's
no, you just have to learn the pattern of the enemies. In this part particularly is very straightforward pattern. There's 2 on this side, then 1, then 2.
Oh yeah, I was easily able to turn that.
All right, you gotta.
But they cook on really be patient. So
move,
fast.
Wait, slice, move, slice, quick jump, move, quick jump. You have to actually. You still have your timing on point.
You're saying you're killing them in the jump, so they're not there when you land. That's what you're saying.
No. So you're crawling up one side, waiting for the other one to come. You're slicing it across, then doing a quick jump. Climb, because another one's going to come the other side, slicing that across, waiting for a second one to come, and then another quick jump because stuff starts shooting at you. It's it's a lot. It's very tight. Tight windows.
Sounds fucking horrible. I just crawled and let the bot do it. So the next area is, you already mentioned it being a problem. Yeah, it was a really suck shit area for sure. There are these spinning groupings of platforms with grunts on them. The sides of the platforms are spiked in some, not all, but most of the cases. And you have to climb these up to a hole in the ceiling with a girder below it that you have to grasp onto and swing yourself up. And there are containers on the left wheel. Yes, one of which is a high Ryu pickup for full HP, much needed for me at this point. And yeah, it might sound easy just jumping on platforms, but it is not, man. There is no easy way to hold on to that girder. The platforms don't really get you a clean jump to it. And there is this stairwell that you can latch onto and hang from to the upper left that is a huge pain in the ass because you get stuck on it.
There's so many things to grab on. Yeah, right. To get in the way.
Yeah, and it automatically grabs them, and it essentially locks you into places that are dangerous when you don't want to be. And it's fucked up, man. It's really, really frustrating. I mean, this is one of those, and there are a few places where this is the case. I just I'm save scumming, so I didn't even learn how to do it. I just, I think I got through this by just frustratedly hitting buttons until I glitched up there.
Dumb luck.
Just dumb fucking button luck. Yeah, I mean, I could not do it reliably without getting totally hammered. So
this is the first time that I was like, that there was a legit period of time. I think I stepped away from the game for a while, and I was like, I don't know how to get past this part. I'm just not sure. I finally figured it out, but there was definitely a legit period of time where I was like, I don't even know. I just keep dying.
Yep. I might have walked away from it for a bit or two, for sure. After that, you go up a short enemy-free tunnel from the girder, and you are back outside where a jetpack dickhead with a gun is buzzing around above you. And this would actually be the first time that I would almost fuck myself with save states. I was so happy to make it out here with my random button depressions that I didn't even look at my time left, and it was only 29 seconds left. And this jetpack dude he's an evasive prick, man. It's not the easiest sprite to. This is the first time I was really like, I'm not even sure if I'm doing damage on him, and I was running out of tick the first few times I took him on. So I had lives and continues and shit, but I was rolling with 4 HP and still had my saucer bot bound to that lowest bar, and I was like, I'm not giving that up. So I'm just like, I'm figuring I'm either killing this guy or maybe I'm quitting this game. I don't know, one or the other. But so yeah, I was just save scum until I got really aggressive on him once, and in desperation mode basically, and you only need to land one hit on him, I think, to frag him. I was so. I don't know. I wasn't getting feedback, and I thought maybe I was hitting. I don't know. But I can't really even explain why it was so hard, but it was for me. So yeah, you kill him though, the timer resets, and you move on to the next segment, and no longer a problem. So this next area is the most fun sequence in the game up to this point, for sure. From the jetpack platform, it's a long descent down the snow-covered mountainside, and as soon as you step out there, explosions start happening behind you, and you got to just start hauling ass down the mountain with fairly reckless abandon, and it feels like playing Sonic. And there's another place later in the game where I felt that same way, and I was like, I don't know. There's no way to know for sure, but I saw, because Sonic is probably in the hopper a little bit right now when this is being developed and coming out, and I can just see a developer screen on the other side of the room where they're doing this port with Sonic on it, and they're like, let's try to get, that's cool. The one developer's over there fucking with that guy's development unit. It's like, that's a cool sequence. Let's try to get one of those in here, And I felt and could see the Sonic there in this a great deal, and it was very cool to me to feel, to have that feeling playing this game.
Well, to your point, they would employ the same technique multiple times later. So, this would come up, I feel like, we're on round 2. I feel like every round from here on out, there would be this point where there's a point, depending on where you are on the stage, where you have to run fast down that hill because explosions come behind you. You know what I mean? And so I kind of like it. It's become to me, and I didn't look it up to verify this, but it's something that I now think about when I think of this game. When you beat a certain part in each level, shit's blown up, you're running down a hill, go. Yeah.
Which is so much within the vibe of the game. It's very cool. The only other one I remember is in the Amazon, but I guess we're going to talk through it. If we see them, we will. We'll talk about it more. So at the very bottom is a short ramp you have to clock and cartwheel off over a gap to another ice-covered incline across the way. And it's one of those gamey moments where you're dying the first time you play it. There's just no way around it. You're burning a life into the fucking video game, to the video. You're sacrificing a life to the video game gods, no matter what here, because it's just, you're hauling ass, and there's just no way. There's no two ways about it. You're just, it's part of the deal back then. That it's so funny that is just inevitability in a game like this. Just Doesn't matter what you had or how good you were playing. Doesn't matter. It's just you're dying here. It's just what it is. Yeah, it's.
But this is also the good thing about how they do their restarts, which I learned. Like when I wasn't fearing for my life and save scumming, like if you die here, it immediately resets you like right at the top of the hill. Like ready, explosions go. Like I get to do it again.
That's a great counterpoint too. Yeah, because I was save scumming. That's not something I was thinking of too much. But yeah, they do. You restart. There's a lot. You can. I kind of want to talk shit about it a little bit because you can feel them in the game. Like the game, when you hit one in the game, it doesn't free. It does. It freezes for a second, like a very, very, very brief second. You get a little freeze, and like I don't know. I don't feel like. I don't know. Maybe you should. Maybe talking through it now, I want to say like, is it telling you that was a save point? And then you can play accordingly. Like, is that feedback?
Maybe that is what that is.
You know what I mean? Like, that could be an intentional choice, design choice, not a fucking, performance flaw.
A glitch. Yeah.
That's an interesting way to think about it because you can approach things differently if I just hit a save point. So that's interesting to think about. But there is one here, and you do. If you die, which I certainly did, you just start at the top of the hill. But you don't have your dipodal saucer rooted to your first fucking HP unit, and that's a big difference.
Apparently, who knows?
Yeah. So they follow that up with another total banger of a sequence, particularly from a visual perspective. This is the image behind me right now. The ground floor of this area has some wolves before you begin climbing a bunch of inclines populated by tank vehicles with claws on the front of them and a few different types of electrical conduits that impose an environmental hazard in the form of intermittent bolts of electricity. And the tell of that electricity is going to pulse is all the foreground art, platforms, enemies, high-Ryu sprite, etc. They go black, i.e. the power is cutting out, and all that art is silhouetted against a purple sky background with lightning flashing here and there, and it makes for an absolutely gorgeous 16-bit screenshot that I was sure to capture and slap on the socials, and for which I obviously placed High-Ryu framed by the platforms, looking his most heroic.
This is the first time that I can appreciate said screenshot, because I died so many times trying to get through this part that I did not enjoy it at the moment. But I can appreciate the artistic beauty of it now.
This one, I because it was again, you're able to discern when the bolts are coming and shit. Like I did not feel frustration here. I would feel frustration in the next segment, but this one didn't get under my skin too bad.
Well, I beat it like the first time going through, but then I either went somewhere different or tried something different and died, but my saves point was like before that because I didn't save it after, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll go through it again. But then after that, I died like 7 times trying to get back through, and I was like, what the hell, man? I just did this on the first try. It was one of those,
Yeah, during the blackouts, you can see the electrical charge sprites passing through the cables towards the conduit.
But then the lightning would get me. Like, sure. I could see the blackout. I'm like, okay. And then I would forget, or I would just space out and forget where the lightning was coming in. I kept dying to the same lightning. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll give you that. It is hard. It all goes
focusing on the blackout.
It all goes black. And if you don't have it really memorized, and there's enough of them where like you need to be standing in a certain place to make it work. If you don't have it really memorized, you could like lose track of where the conduit might be, and you don't know exactly when it's going to be hit. Yeah, it's not easy. No part of this game is easy. I guess maybe that's a caveat you said for it. There's no easy part at all in this game, but this was a part where I wasn't fucking ready to throw my controller out the window or anything. But yeah, it's just from a visual point, it's just such a cool looking part of the game. Bravo. Save America, Capcom, whoever the fuck is responsible for it, just bravo. Yeah, another thing I thought here too, these rovers on the tunnel walls and the claw tanks here, they remind me a lot of the exact same type of enemies as in Batman on the NES. I don't know, did you think that?
Absolutely they did. I was like, this is like the same spray.
Yeah, it's there's obviously a slight art quality difference in NES to Genesis, and color palettes are different, but the sprites are identical to me.
I'm like, this is a very unique looking thing. Like, you didn't just make this up. You got this from somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, I wonder who Batman stole. I wonder who Sunsoft stole them from. So I got to the top of this area and spent a moment like where the hell do I go now? Like there's nothing in either direction. And it's because they drop another banger out of nowhere on you, a chopper vehicle hovering overhead. They have to board and commandeer from grunts to ascend further. And they complicate this with parachuting bombs all over the place that fall so slowly that the moving of the choppers make you run into them, and a string of 3 of these carry you to the top or to the bottom rather of an airship. And it's very cool, very difficult. And like I said, I always want to stop and take a moment to appreciate when one of these games like just throws something at you and you're like, holy fuck, I did not see that coming. I did not expect to have to board something at the top of this. Like I walked all the way to the left and like walked around first. Like I actually spent time searching, like what the fuck, where do I go next? And before I noticed, I noticed the chopper coming in. So that's just a cool feeling. So once on board the airship, there are a couple turbines you have to leap, a weird spinning platform you have to kind of sort out, and then a stationary cannon you have to get by to what is kind of sort of a boss battle arena. There are 3 acrobatic humans here, and I wasn't really sure how to classify the garb they're rocking. Like they are described as the Kunyang martial arts thugs in the manual stage description. And I Googled Kunyang, and the second return was a 2010 post by a Facebook page called Singlish Can, which the best I could parse is kind of like an urban dictionary for an English-based Creole language spoken in Singapore.
Oh.
And yes, so I'll just read the exact post and stress that this is verbatim from the website and in no way reflects the views of the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast, its hosts, or affiliates. But the website says, it means girly, but it is generally used to make fun of a guy, e.g. Kunyang Ayu, always eating salad. Stop, I gotta fucking take a second. Always eating salad, wearing pink t-shirt, and now drinking diet cock. And that's what Kunyang means. So.
What?
And like, you want to hope that, because here's the thing. It's not like
what?
It says wearing pink t-shirt, not t-shirts. So there's some broken English even in this
okay.
translation. So
fair enough.
Maybe that's supposed to be Coke, but we'll never know. Either way, it's funny either way.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
It's got that going for it that it's funny either way. So. Said thugs are acrobating around, trying to kick you and such, and they don't look all that imposing, to be honest. So I just tried to run past them, and at the right end of this platform, there's a door you can blow open, gatekeeping a low-ceiling room with a total basic bitch grunt inside. I guess that's supposed to be the captain, but he's just one of the grunts from like the very first part of the first stage. And it looks like he's driving the airship. He's like fucking with this little thing, So you can take him out real easily, one hit. And then just safely crouch inside the room and whip your sword out the door and like just spam it. And the acrobats will just run up to you and get hit and eventually die because they can't jump on top of you because you're in that room, So it's
game time.
Yeah, it's funny to me. Did you discern that too, or did you actually battle?
No, I was kind of fighting them on the way there.
Okay, so yeah, it was a
in
beautiful thing to find.
Okay, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was beautiful to discover that the very first time. Like, it was not something I had to like fence test or anything. It was just like, nice. I wasn't, like I said, I didn't know there was nothing. They did not look like bosses, So I was just like, fuck those dudes.
I didn't think of them as bosses either. I was just like, all right, beat some people on the way here, and here we go.
Yeah. Stage clear. That's it. Wouldn't even call it a battle. We get another slideshow following that, and the first is a hero shot of Hiryu looking pretty badass. He says, "Take me to your boss." Not your leader or commander. This is a video game through and through. They take me to the final boss battle, bitches. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I just love it. Take me to the boss, your boss, It's just a great self-aware copy choice. Second is one of the Kunyang thugs, and it appears to be a woman, and it says, "You idiot. We control the world as long as there is the flying battleship Balog." And then the last shot is what I presume is this Balog ship. It looks very military, seafaring ship-like. And the text reads, "You must be joking. You are sending a toy into battle?" And I have no idea who is saying this.
Who's saying that?
Right, yeah. The mocking tone suggests it would be one of the baddies, but why would they call their own ship a toy?
Right? Like, is Hiryu talking smack? Because he's like, bitches.
Yeah, or maybe, yeah. Maybe are they talking about the small ship we're on? And is Hai Ryu forcing them to take him to Balog in it? And they're saying it stands no chance? I guess maybe that kind of justifies it. But even then, it seems like you wouldn't talk shit about your own ship. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's
very interesting. Round 3, Balog.
You've just boarded Balog. Prepare for an onslaught as you invade this massive flying fortress. The Eliminator, the monster cannon, will blast you, but its base is vulnerable. Conveyors and trapdoors lead down to the Balog's perilous substructure. Cling like a fly and fight. Be sure to gain all items. Deadly frog robots bar your way. Reduce them to molten metal. But watch out. The Balog's hull is collapsing. Leap side to side to escape. Then avoid the slingshot at all costs. That freaking slingshot. Enter the chamber of horrors where spikes, brutal seamen, and wall-mounted lasers lie in wait. Defy gravity in the inversion sector and dash through the shower of ultra-sensitive grenades. Find the Balog's secret device, then penetrate its magnetic field and slash it to shreds. Don't go down with the ship. Your final target is Captain Beard. Leap onto his shuttle for a hand-to-hand duel to the death.
Sounds like this is going to be absolute fire. The inversion chambers. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Yeah, fuck those. Jesus.
What is this? I was like, what is this? A gravitational boss? What is happening?
Well, that's not what they're talking about. The boss is cool. I'm talking about those things where you flip up to the ceiling and you have to walk along. That's the inversion chambers. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Right, but the boss was
the boss same vein. Yeah, the boss uses it too, I guess. But yeah. But it's there. That's part of it. But I don't understand. That's not the part that sucks with those, I guess is what I'm getting. Because there is a part that sucks. There are parts that suck.
Yes, that is true.
So, yes, now we're on a boat, and first up are all the cannons on the deck, and there's a series of smaller ones you have to blow up to pass while flying shitheads are bothering you from behind, then a big-ass one right before you drop below deck into the hull. And down below is another spot similar to that one at the top of the tunnel in Stage 2, spinning groups of platforms that are less about using them to climb and more about just getting in your fucking way, you know? And it's a way bigger area, and the platform patterns are more oblong. The first part of this has a sword upgrade on the right, and then some really weird shit that sent me Googling on the extreme left. Really kind of feeling out the space here. There's a little spinning, maybe dancing panda bear figurine that disappears on its own and can't be picked up. Did you find this, Jay?
Wait, what is that? Say that again?
There is a spinning, maybe dancing panda bear figurine that disappears on its own and can't be picked up on the far left side of this space.
I don't recall such a pickup.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I thought I was hallucinating. It looks completely out of place. So, and it's in a place that if you're not really fence testing every fucking boundary of this space, you're probably not even going to find. So it's not at all unreasonable for you to not see it. But I found it. And so, yeah, I looked it up. It has no purpose. It was just a meaningless Easter egg inserted by a designer as a joke. The designer would later become the wife of Mega Man figurehead Keiji Inafune. But I couldn't find her name anywhere. Just that it was this dude's wife, which is fucked up. But so yeah, she put it in the game as just a total joke. And I found this I learned this via a 2014 IGN article titled 6 Hidden Secrets of Strider. So yes, there are 5 other things in here, but I wouldn't find them nearly as interesting as this nugget. The link to that is in the show notes, nonetheless, if you want to stuff it in your head. But so yeah, that's on the far left side. There's no reason to get it. You can't pick it up. Doesn't do anything for you, but it is cool to see. And there's a hidden area down below this that you can get to by jumping down what looks like just another Insta-Death pit. Did you find this, Jay?
I did.
Okay. Yeah,
I did,
awesome.
Man. I struggled so much at the beginning of this level, just not even knowing how to kind of get through that first part where you go in. And so after that, and after falling down the hole accidentally, I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's nothing about it that suggests you should try this at all.
Yes. You just fall in death, because other times you fall and it is straight up death.
Yeah, I wonder, since we both found it that way, one has to ask, is there developer intent to make that a hard thing that you're going to fall in more times than not if you don't know what you're doing, So that's interesting. Another thing that we'll never know. So down here, there's there's a little platform that you land on, and there's a full HP replenishment down here, and it's also an easy shortcut to the right side of the hull of the ship as opposed to going on the stuff above it. So good thing to find. There's a couple more spinning platform systems up to an area patrolled by 2 of those Batman tanks and a moving wall closing in on you from the left until you hit a shaft heading up out of there. And the wall slows but keeps closing, so you have to get through this ascent before it closes on you entirely and crushes you. And there's some flying bullshit here that complicates the problem. And they make sure you don't get out ahead of things too fast here. You have to start on the right side of the wall, and they make the part that they don't want you to be past until a certain amount of screen has clipped off the bottom. It doesn't come moving in from the right for you to climb on it until this moment, and the left wall is so far away that you'll just die jumping to it. You can't get to it, So like they gatekeep the fuck out of you here because it would make it so much easier to be able to get to that other side earlier, But they keep you from doing it. So fun little design choice there. And then climb this thing. You have to you're bouncing back and forth. And the speed at which you have to do it, it's such precision required to make this work. It's so many times. This took me so many fucking save scums to get up. I assume you had trouble here. Yeah.
So not too much trouble. I died a couple times at first, kind of just riding it up and expecting to be able to go. And then I was like, wait a minute. I get to the end. I'm like, I can't get out of here. But then I was like, I realized that it maybe took me 4 or 5 tries of and that's including kind of riding it up and realizing I can jump. If I just immediately, as soon as I could jump to the top and try to go as far as I could up and just stay on that one side. And then once we got closer to the top, then I would start jumping to the side because you only need 3 jumps, right? And then you're out or whatever.
Yeah.
So it didn't take me too long.
There's 3 robots. See here, this is a perfect example of how we were playing differently though. I refuse to take damage. Because I don't want to lose my fucking robot or get all fucked up here. So I'm fucking, I refuse to take too much damage on these things because who knows how fuck the next thing is, and I'm save scumming. I'm not going to save scum myself into a corner, So I fucking had to get through it flawlessly, and that took a number of tries. So when you pop out of that, a new bipedal mech awaits you that is impossible not to equate to Ed 209 from RoboCop.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You now have 15 seconds to comply. You are in direct violation of Penal Code 113, Section 9. You now have 5 seconds to comply. 4, 3, 2, 1. I am now authorized to use physical force.
Then you're heading down a decline into a tunnel sequence that absolutely fucking sucks. I hated this part of the video game. Honestly, I can't even talk about it. If you want to talk about this section, Jay, feel free. But I'm not saying another word until the boss battle following it. Do you have anything to say about this part of the game?
Oh my gosh.
No. This is the inverted fucking gravity thing, and I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, this is no fun.
It just sucks. It just fucking sucks. Yeah, and I mean, I honestly, when I got through it in a state that was actually could live with, to do the battle, even though I think the battle's pretty easy, the boss battle, I don't even know how I did it. It was just a random depression of buttons that happened to work out, and thank God.
That happened to work out, right? That describes this for sure.
Okay. So the boss battle is kind of a 2-boss deal. Out of that fucked up experience, you drop into a large symmetrical chamber with a huge machine hovering in the center of it. And this is the secret device mentioned in the manual. And I love this. This is a really cool battle. I loved this boss. The main unit works in concert with a molecule-shaped objects that orbit around it and can hit you. And Hi-Ryu can cling to and scale any part of the floor, walls, or ceiling of this place to deal with that. And they apologetically drop an HP pickup into here at the bottom to help you after that bullshit you had to go through prior, thankfully. So you pick that up, and then what you're really trying to do is to frag a couple of the molecules to give you an insertion point in the machine's orbit, and just like once you're in the orbit and you're moving around it, you just have to keep turning back towards the unit in the middle to whack at it with your sword. And it's just, once you create that safe space to attack it that way, it's just fun. And that is, it was one of the more just kind of freewheeling moments that was just fun action, where I didn't feel threatened. I wasn't stressed out. It was just fun. And it was really cool, I thought.
I'm glad you had fun, Josh. I did not have fun on this boss.
Really?
This is the boss where I was shocked that I beat it and I froze in like the getting smacked up phase.
Well, no, you don't.
Or maybe not here after this. But
okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm just talking about the machine. Yeah.
Right. So, but just on this machine though, like I died multiple times because I let it swing me. If you get caught too long, it'll just slam you on the ground and die. So that happened multiple times. But this is also the place.
Well, no, you fly out of it. Yeah, you have to jump in there 2 times, even if you get it right. So I don't think it kills. Does it make you?
No, it absolutely. I'm telling you, it absolutely kills you. Can confirm because it happened to me multiple times.
Are you sure Are you sure the shit flying around didn't just hit you though?
No, stuff flying around definitely hits you, but like in the orbit, like you have to actively stay in that orbit. Otherwise, it will swing you wider, and if it throws you far out, if you stay in there too long, you will die.
I mean, I would always get flinged out once. I didn't notice that, but I also because you. I guess I didn't know that I didn't know that it had like a grab. I thought it was just once you're in there a certain amount of time, it wings you out. I guess the way you're inherently turning to hit it as you're going around it is probably the control stick depressions that you need to stay in its orbit. So that I guess that makes a lot of sense, and maybe I just didn't notice it because I was doing that well. But if you're getting
hit by things, and that's throwing you off at all, then all of a sudden you're like spinning wildly, and you're like, I can't really hit it now and the bombs are hitting me, So this is also where I ran out of continues and didn't know, and I was like, oh shit, what do I do right now? Like
I never did. When you do continues, does it start you mid stage or beginning of the stage?
No, if I remember correctly, it starts you where you would have started, like at the last checkpoint place, if I remember correctly. But this is where it happened, and I had no choice but to go back to my last save state with 0 lives. But it was just I guess I'll try it again. At the beginning of this boss, I guess I'll just keep trying and see what happens. But this is also where I employed the Game Genie, infinite lives.
Nice.
So that I could just keep, basically save stating, coming back over and over again.
Not cheating though. Yeah, that is a less circumvention tactic than just save stating like I've been doing. So that's actually
Game Genie codes that make me feel like I was not cheating.
Right. Very, very admirable. Very admirable of you. So yeah, once you build this thing up, does not end the stage like you might have expected it to. I certainly did. You just drop down onto a platform hanging off the belly of the ship, and a destruction sequence begins that you have to quickly platform to the right away from. So I guess this is another instance of that. You're right in that case. I didn't think of this as one because you weren't going down a hill, but I feel you on that.
Yeah.
And at the end of that platforming shit to the right, the Captain Beard mentioned in the manual awaits. And I'm watching this fucking playthrough, dude. The fucking guy is doing a thing that I cannot believe he just did on the first try. That upsets the shit out of me. Sorry. So yeah, Captain Beard awaits, and he's riding one of those chopper doodads you rode up to the airship with. And this cat looks like a straight up pirate. It's great. He has an eye patch. He's got a hook for a left hand. He's got a beard, of course, being Captain Beard. And his little pirate getup is purple. Looks great. It's a great looking sprite. And he's got a huge ass whip. He cracks at you from the chopper. Jay, might as well give us a chopper.
Get to the chopper!
Right. And there's some of the grunts from the tunnel buzzing around on the platform. And I just cartwheeled up to his little buggy and banged on his ass for a few seconds, and his ass was grass. So I didn't really have any trouble with this dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was not hard. Screenshotting him too, there was a fun glitchy thing. This is definitely a performance thing, but I got a screenshot of him with the chopper thing is gone, so it's just him floating in midair, which is a cool looking image.
So at this point, so real quick, at this point, I'm thinking, I don't know about you, when I realized that, okay, the gravitational boss was not a boss, like, it's just a part of the level.
Well, he was a boss. They just like bosses in this game.
That's my thing. At this point, I'm kind of like, okay, it's harder to get to the boss, these dudes at the end that you just piece up really quick. Like, they're just kind of, hey, you made it here. Like, kill this guy and now move on. You know what I mean?
Rewards. And
exactly.
That's a fun thing too, dude. That's another, again, like iconic and epic and make you memorable, but also enjoyable. Like, that's jamming a lot into a little box. That's good. That's a really good job. If you know what you're doing, like you said, you had trouble with the one, so it's not impossible to have trouble with them, I guess, But I would agree the difficulty of the bosses to this point are not the hard part of this game. I would agree with that for sure.
Right.
They shortchanged us a little on the slideshow afterwards. They only give us 2 cars instead of 3. The first is the Polaroid of Mayo we've already seen. The text reads, "You dare fight me," which is Cobra Commander and a half. The second is a close-up of his face. Fucker finally found his light, and is the worst actor ever, fucking taking this long to find his light. And you can see his face beneath the hood. It's gross, very veiny and leathery, beady yellow iris eyes. And he says, "I have you now. I will show you that I control the world." Sure, homeboy. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
Sega Genesis.
Genesis. Absolutely Sega Genesis. It's gotta be Spider-Man.
Sega Genesis.
Definitely Strider.
Sega Genesis.
Go with Strider, Spider-Man, just 2 hot names of the games. Sega Genesis systems and games sold separately, available at these fine stores.
Definitely Strider. I don't have to tell you what that was. You know what that was. So we're going into round 4, the Amazon. And the manual description is: swelter in the hot, humid jungles of the Amazon. Get ready to jump, hang, and swing, or perish. Look out for detonating toadstools and deadly tiger traps. When alluring Amazons approach, don't fall in love. Dodge their razor-sharp axes and killer boomerangs. Jump, duck, and slide. Do whatever it takes to get out alive. Man-eating piranhas thrive in the Amazon River. Swing across and stay dry, or you'll be fish food. Decimate the pterodons and triceratops, and never wait to climinate the fiery Amazons. Climb the Brontosaurus herd to begin the final slash out with Lago, the ominous robot. Aim at his head and hack away. There's only 2 types of environments that video game developers would label the Amazon in 1990. There are Incan ruins, or the standard dense rainforest environ, and these cats went Incan ruins here. And this stage has my favorite music track of the game, Valleys and Rivers. And they are kicking this one off by channeling some more energy right out of the Sonic and R&D shit that probably hadn't even started yet, but it feels like Green Zone, Hill Zone to the max here. And yeah, they get you cooking at Sonic the Hedgehog speed by having mushrooms sprouting in succession from left to right that explode a beat or 2 after sprouting behind you. So you have to
again. Yep. Hauling ass down the hill.
Yep. So yeah, you haul ass down this hill, that bottoms out, and you start to head back up. The path beneath your feet starts falling away as you go. Again, just even more Sonic-y. And then you move into a climbing area where you have to platform to and fro on vines that bend under your weight. And down below that is some piranha-infested waters, as they mentioned. During the climb, you have to deal with climbing surfaces, also infested with explosive fungi, as well as the badass Amazonian women that are not hard to avoid developing romantic feelings for when they're whipping axes and boomerangs at you. And they have a really muddled quasi-voice sample they all incessantly repeat the entire time they're on screen or even off but nearby. And it's pretty hilarious in small doses. In large doses, super annoying.
Enough Amazons.
Yes. Once you work your way up to their treehouse, way at the top, which is what I would equate that top level of the climb as, you work right and then down a hill in an Indiana Jones-inspired sequence with huge stone balls rolling down behind you. And there, I guess you're right, even more hauling ass down hills, you're right. But from there, you enter a horizontal sequence where you're encroached on from both sides by Amazonian riding armored Triceratops. And these Triceratops sprites look fucking great. Once you destroy their steeds, they attack on foot like all the previous ones you've encountered. And then the whole while you're in this part, you can see a massive quadrupedal dinosaur scrolling parallax in the background. And once you work your way up to the head area, you can see it is of the Brontosaurus variety, and you can jump onto its neck. And this looks fucking amazing. It's such a good looking set piece. And you have to leap to a second after that too, a second Brontosaurus. So technically this game has Brontosaurus platforming, a video game first, I reckon.
Yes, I was like, what are we doing here?
Yes, so this gets us to our boss battle against Lago, described in the manual as the ominous robot. And I guess he's ominous. He's a large golden dinobot that looks exactly like a flying dinosaur type, more raptor-ish, I would say, but does float down from above and hover on a vertical flight pattern that does have a little bit of a horizontal movement leeway to it. He spits these fire rings that will transform into flying fire pterodactyls and has a huge claw arm that will jut out and down at a 45-degree angle from the place a Tyrannosaurus baby arm would be, you know. So I did a couple times filling him out, and upon learning his head was his weak point, I kind of figured it would be best to just stay up on the leaf platform that leads you out into this boss arena. And it's one of those ones that does bend under your weight, so you can't just like run out to the end of it. You have to kind of like find the sweet spot that is maybe like 0.75 pixels wide, where you can like stand that's close enough and it bends down, where you don't fall off of it, but it bends down enough to actually hit his head, you know. So I was able to find that and dispatch him quite easily. But
dude, quite easily.
Before finding that, he is super tough. I agree.
Yes, it took me so long. I wrote, how many effing hits does this Dynamite take? It was at this point that I'm like, I had the headphones off, the sound turned up, and I'm like, I make the same sound if I'm swinging against air as if I'm hitting this. I'm like, it wasn't until I jumped up and I hit the dino in a flash, and I was like, wait a minute. I wasn't even hitting him in the right spot all this time. Yeah. After that, he's done.
Yeah, and like,
so frustrating.
I don't know if any other one has the possibility of working that hard and finding out that you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, this is the one that it was
right.
Like, oh my gosh.
But
clear.
I almost want to say that was like a choice. Like they used that against you here. You know what I mean? That was a choice they've done throughout the game. It's not really a system you need to deal with or worry about. And in this case, it is. And I almost want being essentially the last boss before the final boss. Theoretically, I kind of almost want to say maybe that's deliberate, but no way to know.
If it was, screw you guys, you devs.
So, yeah. You take your domination of them, their dinosaurs, and their homeland as an opportunity to interrogate one of the Amazonian women in the slideshow. The first headshot looks more like an 80s pop music icon, Cyndi Lauper, maybe?
Right?
Than an Amazon forest-dwelling human being, but what have you. They came from the third mood with ancient monsters, is what she says. The second speaks very good English for an Amazonian Aboriginal, I think. But, cool. The second headshot is Captain Beard, I believe. And I don't know what he's doing here, but he says the powers of the military and science are now in his hands. And the third is the old guy from the Shithead Council at the end of round 1. So perhaps this is just like a flashback montage. I don't know, but
right?
this one's
random
yeah.
combination of discussion points.
Right, yeah, this one says nobody goes against the master. And they make up for the round 3 slideshow, shortchanging by having a fourth here. And this one is going back to Mayo for some of his shit talking. He says, "Come, Hi Ryu, you are going to have to surrender to me." You better check your punk ass, Mayo. I'm about to drop a hammer on your little moon base. So we then move on to that. Round 5, the third moon. Jay, would you please do the honors of this final stage in Strider on the Sega Genesis?
You've made it to the Grand Master's control station. Now go all out. Keep to the right, carefully guarding your strength and extra lives. Once in the Supreme Tower, you'll need every advantage to survive the final cataclysmic battle.
Jay, how much of a prick do you have to be to name the tower you hang out in on a regular basis the Supreme Tower? And you know he didn't just name it that. It's not like that's just his name for it. You know he's correcting subordinates that try to shorten it to just the tower. Like that dude with the gun that I got you in the beginning. He's like, okay, I'm coming up to the tower. He's like, no. What is it?
Where are you coming?
The Supreme Tower. You fucking D-bag.
Right, and he's also the Grand Master. You better get it.
Right, yeah, this guy. You're adding an extra adjective no matter what, bitch. Yeah. Yes. So they kick this shit off, right off, with an Ed 209 bearing down on you. The second the level fades in. So you better not be taking a drink of your Charkleberry Finn Kool-Aid or anything to get your mind right before you roll in here. You got to be on your P's and Q's immediately, you know.
It's RoboCop time. Let's go.
Yeah. That was a thing. That was, did they do that in the Genesis Ghouls and Ghosts? I can't remember, but I know in Ghosts and Goblins, the NES one, very long ago, episode 1, or the first game episode anyways, that Jab and I talked extensively about. There was a stage where like you start the stage and these bats are on you immediately, and it's like, what the fuck, man? What kind of a prick makes a stage like that, you know? Like, at least this is the last stage, I guess, if you're going to justify it at any point, I suppose, here, but
I'd be ready to like save state. It's like, oh snap, I'm into it already. I've already gotten hit. Like,
right, exactly, yeah. But yeah, I mean, as a kid, you know, like that, you know, you just beat a boss. You're like, you watching the slideshow. You're like fucking cooling off a second, you know, and like just to have some drop some shit on you right away is really fucking cruel.
Sat the controller down to talk to your little brother. Like, did you see that? Like,
right.
It's like, oh crap, shit.
Especially like going into the last stage too. You know, you have the manual. You know, this is the last stage. You're definitely pausing and like taking a walk for a second to fucking, you know, get your fucking wits about you before you go into this. So. You then have to scale up a satellite array with one of the dishes looking exactly like the one in my childhood backyard. But Mayo, is, you know, I'm thinking maybe you would bet Mayo is just trying to catch some just unscrambled enough to see an occasional nipple Spice Channel 2. So I can see why he would need one of these satellite dishes. You have flying shit everywhere as you jump from here to the next area. There's missiles, bots, who knows what all that shit is. Really sucks though. And you can hear me ID them as much as my play vid, which of course is in the show notes. My boss battle vid is the whole 5th stage playthrough, 2 sessions. There's like a fade. It's not often on a boss battle video. I pretty much just cut the ends off and like upload it. It's never a good sign when I have to edit them and include a dissolve transition between 2 separate videos. That's not good, and I definitely had one of those in this case. But you can hear me ID them as such. But those gun bots with the floating discs carrying them are the absolute shittiest flying annoyance in this game. I fucking hate these, and they're everywhere in this level, and they suck. I don't know if they take 2 hits. I'm not sure if they hit a certain part of a very small sprite, but they are just fucking way harder to kill than is sensible. You know what I mean?
The bots? Oh my gosh.
The flying.
Dude, I hate them so much.
Yeah, really, they always are coming from behind too. They suck. Yeah, but I probably spent 10 minutes. It's in the video, so I don't need to give you the amount of time. It's the fucking 10 minutes of trial and error just to get through here without losing half or more of my life. And I think I just finally, again, lucked my way into a fucking doing so.
I don't know how you did it. It had to be that, because I'm like, I'm getting hit. Like, what the...
Very, very difficult. And then from that, you have a climb sequence. A dude with a massive gun. I don't think we've seen elsewhere in this game. It's just a one-off of these dudes. He's like kind of like the ringleader here, and he's like up on this platform above you. It's really hard to get up to that platform he's on to deal with them. So you're kind of what you're more inclined to do is just pass beneath him and hope to outrun his bullets as they fucking pepper down behind you. And that's a cool action movie sequence, like scene, you know, the fucking Rambo running with the bullets fucking hitting the dirt behind him. That's kind of what the vibe that is, but it's not fucking fun to deal with in a video game. So they have a lot of those. They're not green in this case, they're white, but you have a lot of those bendy leaf platforms from the Amazon stage. There's some tanks, there's more flying shit. It just all sucks. I mean, yeah, how many times would you say before you got into that anti-grav tunnel, like, to get through this?
A few. It probably took Well, I'll put it like this. It probably took me maybe 4 times or so to get through that part. But then the freaking platforming upside down right after that took me so long.
Dude, that's what it... So when I got pissed off a second ago watching the fucking... The playthrough video here that I have going, he went through that the first time. And how the fuck, dude? Oh my God. Yeah, it's so fucked up. So you go in here and then you immediately go into inverted gravity and you're hanging from the ceiling, but it's really the floor. And yeah, like your guy, it's a cool, good job.
Yeah. It's
just so jarring. It makes it so hard. Like the first time you see it, it's not the first time seeing it, like you see it in that, might even been the 3rd level, not the 4th, I don't remember. But you've already seen it, so you know how it works kind of, but you don't have to you have to platform with it here. And the gravity works in the jumping that way too, so you're platforming across these holes in the ceiling is what you're doing. And, God, it is so hard, man. It is so fucking hard. And there's shit in here. There's guys running down. There's fucking spikes jutting up out of the floor, but it's your ceiling because you're on the ceiling. So it's just, oh my God, it's so fucking hard. And then, like, the very end of it, you have to make this jump over to...
Yes.
And they teach it to you.
Sticking out, with the drill sticking out.
And they teach it to you because in the beginning of this room, you have to start on one of those. And you have to ride it out. So you know you can ride safely on it. And you just have to avoid the very, 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 very tip of the point. But even with that, you have to, it's so fucking hard to land. It's just, oh my God, dude, so many times. I definitely walked away from it. I had to take a break. I'm pretty sure this is, no, I got to the boss. The first time I went through, I did play to the boss rush. But it was, I was pissed off and saying a lot of terrible shit for sure. If you like hearing that. If you like hearing that kind of stuff, if you like hearing dickheads scream profanity at a fucking computer screen, definitely watch my play vid. There's a lot of that.
I concur. I felt like I needed a couple runs just to get my bearings and like, okay, how do these controls work when I'm upside down? Because before you kind of just playing on the fly and making your moves. Right here, it was like, I got a platform, so I need to just make sure if I press up and to the right, it goes up into the, you got to figure that out. And then once I did, it still felt like slippery, missing that jump.
That's the thing. Yeah. So there's 2 things in here that I didn't mention. Poor job of podcasting. One, yes, the things you're platforming across on the floor, which is actually the ceiling, are sloped to a degree where you slide down them, which is insane. But I guess gravity's inverted, so sure. But so there's that complicating aspect, and there's shit coming out of what would be pits and you can fly up like into a one death pit, as if it's a pit down. It's crazy. It inverts the entire way video games work, which is they usually don't go that far. I guess is kind of the point with this kind of thing. This is not an unprecedented game mechanic, but the links they go to employ it are maximum. And then also you can hang from the ceiling. That's actually the floor. Right. Yeah. So you're walking on your hands on the floor upside down is really what it is what it looks like anyways. And there's those spikes. So it's so fucking crazy, dude. It's mind-bending.
But once you figure it out though, or once I figured it out, I'll speak for myself.
I never figured it out.
It was easy for me to I'll just avoid what is now the floor. I'm just on top. I'm upside down. I can ride the one across and kind of make a slide, make that big jump, slide again. You could figure out the pattern. Oh, man, and you really only had to reattach at the end.
Never even occurred to me to slide.
Yeah. It took a while. Once I got it, it's one of those things where once I went through it like 15 times and I was like, okay, now I can do it. I can do it repeatedly. But before that, it just death after death after death, trying to figure out like the timing and what is the most efficient way to get through here without having to fight a bunch of baddies. And that was kind of the way.
I fucking hate it.
Good times.
It's a wild and fun idea, but being the player in that idea is horrible.
Not ideal. Not ideal.
Fucking awful. We then go into a mini boss rush sequence where Capcom was trying to make you feel like all those Mega Man boss rushes you thought were soul crushing were actually just child's play. And they start with the secret device and a huge chamber boss from the airship level, and then go into the bouncing lasers in a dome machine that was above the console dragon in stage 1, then the jetpack prick from the end of stage 2, then the gorilla from the beginning of stage 2. And there are things to all of these that complicate them. The coolest example of this is, yes, as you mentioned earlier, the Tyrannosaurus flanking you from behind over and over in the gorilla battle. And it's that's I think that's on the box cover. It's an awesome image. Like, basically you're stuck in between King Kong and fucking Godzilla is what it's exactly what they're going for there. And it's an awesome looking image. I hated it. I had a really hard time with that gorilla battle. I can't believe that was easier for you than the first one. That blows my mind.
Like, I went in there and at first you're like, all right, let me kill the dino. And now I'll move on. And then, like, it just keeps coming back. Like, okay.
Yeah, you can kill it. It only takes, like, maybe 4 or 5 hits
it's not hard.
To kill it. It blows up, but yeah, then it returns. So, basically it returns on every hit loop for the gorilla, because you're trying to jump the hit activity and hit him in the head. So, yeah, it's just all you have to do is pay attention, and you could probably do it without getting fucking hammered, but it's still not easy. Definitely not an easy thing. So yeah, it took me a lot to beat that dude. And then he dies, and they throw Lago, the main boss in the last level, at you a second time. And
oh my gosh.
Yes. This is where I flipped out and quit. And I flipped out, I quit. I took a full week off before trying again. And coming back to, like, going into it, like, I mean, I posted on the socials, and all you motherfuckers let me know, and no one gave me any tips. I was fucking bummed out. Much people like the fucking post, but no one gave me any tips. You fucking pricks. I can't believe no one gave me any tips. but yeah, so I come back, and I'm like, I know I need information. There's no way. I know I'm going to go in there. I'm not going to beat this game if I just go into it again and just bang my head against the wall. I need information. There's something. I didn't even realize that I could get in front of him for the first 2 times I think I played him.
Right? I'm like, I keep dying behind him.
Yeah. The fucking like a bolt of lightning comes in after you beat the gorilla, and that's where Lago appears. But it will keep it doesn't appear. It doesn't turn into Lago until it's above your head. So if you keep running left, you can get to the edge of the screen before it'll come in, and then you got to go right, and then you're behind it, and you're fucked. You can't do anything from behind it because you got to hit the front of its head. So that's a fucked up dead end if you don't know better, and of course you don't. So awful. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, the end of my first play video ends with me stuck behind him, and he just keeps jumping, and I'm inching towards what is a pit on the right side, and like he gets close to me, and I'm just like, I just have to jump. Like, I thought to myself, I was like, maybe I can stick to the wall. And that's the way to do this, So I tried that, but all I did was jump to my doom. So yeah, I was like, and like that happened, and I was just like, it's so. I just love how well it reads on my dumb face in the fucking video. I'm just like, I'm so disgusted and like, just like, oh my god, like. Fuck you. No, fuck this game. I hate this game. Fuck this game. Go fuck yourself. No way. Turn it off. And then like. Transition to a week later. So I went on and I watched the play video. I was like, I'm not trying to figure this out. I'm not going to have fun unless I just have some idea how to approach this. So yeah, there's nothing, the thing is with the first one, you have the thing to stand on. So you don't have that here. So I figured that knowledge out, head back in, and it's really just, the way to do it is just, you got to hop his claw and get a couple hits in, then back off during the fire breath attack, and then you rinse and repeat. Sounds super easy, but there's this, and I am so curious to hear whether this was happening to you. In my emulation, there's slowdown during this battle. Did you have slowdown during this battle? What the fuck, dude? How can you, I guess it could be both just our emulations and not on OG hardware. I doubt it. But it's a major fucking problem timing jumping this claw with slowdown. So, oh my god, dude. I started this second play just immediately pissed off because I have I know how to do it, and I can't do it because the thing's fucking up. I was so fucking irritated. That was so discouraging. Yeah. Oh god, dude.
No fun.
So I get to the point where I was just, hit him. I was just do the most incremental of save scumming. Just get a hit in, get back get back to a safe spot underneath that fire, save state again, try it again. So I would do this, and as it goes with doing something like this, save state myself into a corner. Here's another shit thing about RetroArch. Changing the save slots is it sucks. It sucks. So I wasn't using them, which was dumb. I should have just done that. You have to do the work, because you can obviously, it's way worse to get to the end of the game and then fuck yourself somehow than it is to do that little bit extra work. But I didn't, like a moron, just like in Subnautica. It's amazing how you can get yourself, despite you can have all those things in your life, that cumulative redundancy of just terrible things happening to you, and you just don't learn. It's amazing how stupid human beings are. But I saved myself at a point where I had 14 seconds left on my timer, and that's really only 2 attack opportunities left. That's his movement and attack cycle is about a 7-second deal. So I did a number of attempts after having this save state. I would actually eventually save state down to 7 seconds. Like, I got a good first one in, so I was like, okay, that was good. Let's save that. I'm either there or I'm not. There's no difference. Like, there's no way to better optimize that one cycle, so I might as well save. So I did. I saved with 7 seconds left, and I only had this one attack opportunity left, and I failed a bunch of times. And I was like, oh my god, I'm fucked. And like, dude, I probably had a life or 2 left. I don't remember. But either way, like, I had save state at the start of this battle with only 1 life anyways. So again, I'm trying to keep that fucking robot, like I don't know, like fucking really stuck on that. so yeah, I failed a bunch of times. And then on one of them, I jumped. So like, if you have any hope of survival, you do not jump after that arm juts out, because he's going to do that fire thing. So you don't want to be anywhere near his face. So if you have any hope of surviving, or intent of, or belief that he's going to be there 2 seconds from now still, you don't do this. But I was saved something into a corner, so I just did it anyways. And I got a good hit in on the normal cycle, and then jumped again as his fire was about to come out of his mouth. And
got one more
that hit killed him, dude. And
nice.
Dude, it was unreal, man. Fucking unreal. You can see in the video, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, that's as close as you can get. It is just the most fringe you can get on video game failure. It was so fucking high drama. 2 seconds left on the timer. 2 seconds left on the timer. Nice. When he fucking died. So fucking good. So yeah, the hair on my chinny chin, but survive in advance, like the NFL playoffs, Jay. What was your path with this fucker like? How did you just...
I tried a bunch of different stuff, man. Like trying to squat down below, trying to slide, like at first kind of like you, before I would like try to slide underneath him to get back in front. And I just tried a bunch of different things. I ended up kind of just rushing him the minute like he spawned and I was in front of him, just jumping in front of him and just spamming, and then just trying to slide and dash away, jumping back, and just working in the right amount of hits. I don't know that it was very scientific after trying so many different approaches. Yeah.
It was funny, man. When I watched that play video, I was like, I was kind of shocked with how casually you could just move away from the fire things and just stand there, and they don't fly far enough down to hit you if you just stand there.
I noticed that, but they're right in the wrong place where you don't want them to be. But it's like, all right, as long as I get them to like spawn here, then I have some space to get behind them. And
I don't think they. Well, I guess maybe I don't know.
If the dragon goes backwards, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say I don't think they can ever fly low enough to hit you if you're just standing there. But maybe it is because I'm always just walking away there, and maybe they can. I don't know, but yeah, fuck battle a lot. Almost made me quit the game. So that happens. He dies, and then you get another one of those electrical bolt things, and the segmented council dragon from stage 1 appears along with the Grand Master music. The dragon moves overhead of you to screen left and then circles back at you to the right, and you have to jump on its back and ride it. And during that ride through a black void, you get Mayo explaining his plan to you, again, a la Cobra Commander shit, via text on screen. And he says, I shall raise the city up to the sky and rid the earth of all creatures. I will create a race to fill the new earth. And that doesn't sound Hitler at all, dude. Cool plan. Then the serpent enters and an ascent sequence where it's doubling back the other way requires you to hop from standing near its rear to hanging, then climbing back up to standing as its head passes above you. And yeah, definitely dying. Very hard to figure out at first. And with those platforms, you can't even be hanging because it'll like scrape you off as it passes them, you know. So at the very top of this sequence, its head becomes susceptible to attack. You can't, at least I'm pretty sure you couldn't attack it during the ascent. And it goes into this loop pattern where you use that last incline platform. You have to, like, as you're riding it and the back of it is just starting almost to the point where you would just fall off of it, you have to jump down onto this platform and then wait a beat or two for its head to get close enough to the platform that you can jump over its head and not take damage from its head, get behind it again, whack it a couple times, and then just do that loop in succession. I mean, once you have that, it's not that hard, but finding that as the solution took me a few tries and definitely some like, fuck kind of shit, but very cool. Even, you know, it's an awesome sequence. Between the boss shit talking through the black void, the climb it to the top, and then not being able to attack it till you get up there, and then having that little loop once you do, it was I think a very, very cool approach to what is going to be our final boss battle arena. I thought it was a good job. So very, very cool. And that platform you were using to defeat the serpent ends up being the leftmost part of the Mayo battle arena, and you can progress into it, whatever, after the serpent explodes. And how to describe this structure, Jay? How would you? I mean, I would call it 3 grappling hooks stacked on top of each other, with a platform at the very top, and the claws on them, they look like his big red nails, you know. So it's like a grappling hook with the stem pointed down and then kind of the umbrella part facing up, and it's 3 of those kind of like in sequence, I think, and they are different size, like the hooks are different sizes, you know. So it's very cool. I guess it's supposed to just kind of be like an antenna spire or something, but it's a very cool and interesting structure, I think. And
it looks like a connected bone claw tower to me, you know. That's what it looks like. Like I was unsure this was the final boss fight at first. I was like, what am I on? And then I was like, wait a minute, this is definitely the dude.
They give you a pause moment for sure where you're like, you don't know. Yeah, when I first came in, I was like, he doesn't fly right in immediately. So I was like, I ran up to the other edge on the far right side, and I was like, what? This is a leap of faith? Fuck. And I just jumped off. I did. It takes a second for shit to get going. But, so once shit does get going, it's supposed to be, the easiest way to describe it is this thing flies up into space off this moon that you're on. But what you see to convey that is a bunch of purple clouds go rushing by from top of the screen to bottom, and then the Earth becomes visible as you'd see it from space, like in the distance, you know? And yes, I'm interpreting that as you just shooting off the third moon into outer space for the battle. But a really interesting thing about that is that suggests that there's an atmosphere on this third moon base. Clouds would only be on an atmosphere. So that's...
Josh,
you wouldn't expect that.
The master has control of
everything,
military and science. So he scienced a way to make it work.
That's so true. First thing is like, we got to get some atmosphere here. I want to be able to have those soothing nights of rain titter tattering on my rooftop. So yeah, gotta get an atmosphere worked in here. So once it flies up into space, then Mayo floats down, and it's the exact sprite that's in the opening sequence of the game. His red and black cape, hands outstretched towards our POV, and he's incessantly spitting out a lightning attack from his hands, and it can, of course, hit you and do damage, but even if you avoid it, it will burst into a spread shot of various animals you've encountered in the game, the first being the piranha sprites from the Amazon level, and then also wolves. When he inevitably kills you, he floats up to the top of the screen, and again, he's just fucking frantically flying around doing that shit. I guess is kind of his attack pattern. I wouldn't say there's any like like his movement is not any continuously repetitious thing. It's rather random, and
it's not a discernible pattern.
Right. Yeah. Responsive to whatever you're doing. Because you do. And the reason for that is a smart one in that, your range of free movement here on this is this is a big room, or a big space to deal with this on. And like, you are doing it. It does a great job of like using all it feels like the place that an acrobatic battle should be happening. There's like, you're hanging, there's 3 levels of this thing where you're hanging from this fucking thing, flipping up. It's got at the edges of the second one, I think it has the walls that you can kind of climb up and hang on to and attack from. It does a good job of giving you a space that you can use all the shit and whatever battle mechanics you've developed that you find to be your favorites or most dependable or whatever, you can probably employ them here in one way or another and deal with this boss however you want to, as opposed to this really standardized, this is how you do it kind of thing, So I thought that was cool and a really good design of this whole arena, in addition to awesome visuals like I already explained. So it's fun too. You're going to die here, of course, a few times figuring him out. So when he kills you, he floats up to the top of the screen, up above that beautiful view of the Earth, and he does some laughing or something to gloat before it cuts to the next life or game over, and that's a nice touch. You always want some really good shit talking out of the boss, and they do a good job of actually putting it into the battle arena even when you die. So as opposed to like a cut screen after the fact or something. So that's cool. Tell me how you tackle him, and then I'll get into my bullshit.
Yeah, at first I wasn't sure, again, like, what's the best way to tackle this guy? Like, what's he really doing? And he, of course, as you said, killed me a couple times, maybe like 3 times. And a couple times, I was just trying to figure out the arena, like, what can I do? Like, do I climb up and swing? Like, is there an ideal spot to, like, hit him because he's kind of flying vertically and the way he's shot? But after, like, the 3rd death or so, I noticed... like, because I was just kind of climbing up, like I said, trying to figure out where to go and what else is available. I noticed to the far left, up and to the left, there was a canister. So I was like, I'm gonna go for that next time, see what's there. So the next time I go up there, grab that, and it's the extended sword. So as soon as I had that, I pieced him up, like, right then and there, like, from a distance, and it was game over.
Really?
Immediately. I was like, is that the end of the game? I think that's the end of the game. I was like, all right.
Wow. I got fried probably a dozen or so times just feeling them out. And then, yes, in doing that, I realized that they're the 2 pickups there. So there's that pickup on the left. So you're telling me you never even saw the pickup on the right?
I went to the right, but I don't remember what it was, and it's not memorable to me what it was. Because I went to the right first, and whatever it was happened, and I was like, well, let me see if there's anything on the left. And that's kind of how I ended up over there.
It's HP replenishment, so it fills your life bar back up. So at this point,
I guess that's why I went to the left.
Yeah, I guess it's worth noting that at some point here in the 5th level, I got killed, and I was like, "Fuck it, I fucked that robot." So I gave that up. So I was going into this battle, I was 3 HP. Only,
so just like me,
not 5, and I had no robot. So that HP replenishment was key for my success here. I guess maybe if you don't get hit, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the whole system I developed basically was, yes, go get that sword platform immediately. It's the battle starts, go just beeline to that sword, get the sword, hit him a few times as I'm moving, like immediately start moving right, but trying to battle him as I do so. So like this shifting of our confrontation slowly, or not slowly, but incrementally enough right, so I'm taking 2 damage by the time I get over to the right, and I'm just picking that HP up after I've taken 2 damage, not before, and obviously not after, because that's death. So so like I'm trying to like just kind of like work them with me over there and do damage while I do it, get the replenishment, and then just hammer the fuck out of him, kamikaze him, hoping I take him down before I die, So that was the whole plan, and I definitely never developed anything better than it. So somewhere between another 10 and 20 cracks at it with that mindset, I would eventually tag him. And I am pretty sure that I lost my last HP bar just after I dealt him his final blow. So when I went shooting up into the air for the cut stage bonus tally thing, I had no life left. And yes, you want to say you like, oh, did I beat him? I was like,
is it over? Do I gotta
yeah. I not only thought I beat him, but that I had died doing it, and that I wasn't going to have beat the game, you know? So I had like this, you know, that as much inner turmoil as you can have in a moment playing a retro video game. Just like, did I do it and get fucked? Oh my God. Because that's I can't remember what game it was.
You never know. It's hit or miss depending on the game.
Yeah, that's definitely happened to me in a game, and I can't remember what the fuck it was now offhand. But I remember that happening very specifically in one of our fucking game episodes for the final boss battle, and I just could not fucking believe it. So yeah, that happened here again. So much relief though when it actually cut to the stage clear screen, and that, you know, wasn't the case. So yeah, man, very very epic. Felt like the ultimate gratification. You know, you're gonna hear me say that when we talk fucking King Lorik's Blessing. Like, it was hard, it looks great, it was epic, fucking awesome. And so yeah, so it does the stage clear thing. Like, you go up to the top to the same place that he goes and gloats from after he kills you. So that's kind of just a cool balance, I guess. You know, bookending thing. So you go up there, you get the stage clear screen, 30,000 bonus points, whatever the fuck it is, who cares? And then it's onward to a dope-ass in-game cinematic sequence scored with the ending track from the OST. You had that as our first music break, so I won't bother to drop it here. But it starts with the tried and true over-the-shoulder shot of the hero watching the whole base begin to implode in the distance, as you have behind you right now. And I forgot to put behind me when we went in. Or no, that's maybe the next one. I think I was supposed to do it here. Doesn't matter. Anyways, there is, yes, this red, purple, and deep blue sky behind it. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous pixel art. The spire you fought Mayo on topples down first. You know, it's in the very center, like right clipping the horizon in the thing, which doesn't make a lot of sense now that I say that, because supposedly that flew up into space. So does that mean the whole base flew up? I guess that's possible. Maybe that's what it meant. Yeah. Yeah. But why? If it's why?
Maybe it was connected to what we're seeing now on the ground destroying, you know what I mean? Like, there had to be like a base part of it, and that's, who knows? I don't know. I'm spitballing.
Right, yeah,
trying to make it work here.
Yeah, right. So that first topples down, just like right straight into the ground, and then explosions start all over the place. And how would you explain? Hiryu starts this weird crab walk / strafe run and heads off screen right. Do you remember exactly what I'm talking about? Like, basically, he starts moving right, and it's like he like picks up speed, so it implies that he's running. He starts running, but he never turns his body, so it's always his back to us with his hair blowing in that image. And he never turned. So, you know, it's just
it's essentially like he's watching the evil empire like explode, and it's like he's satisfied, and all of a sudden it's like explosion. He's like, maybe I should get the fuck out of here.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's absolutely what you're supposed to. Yeah, no, that reads fine. To me, it's just so weird that his body doesn't turn for the run.
Like, why is he going sideways instead of just turning to the side and taking off?
Yeah, it's because that would have been a whole new set of pixels that they couldn't fucking. They either didn't want to or could not get in here. So yeah, ran out of. This is the end of the 8 bits. 8 megabits here. They were at 7.9999 megabits, and they're like, he's not going to turn. So then we fade to white before he swoops in on his glider and flies through space towards Earth with fiery debris flying by him. And once he clears the debris field, he begins a back and forth motion in front of the passing stars that totally gave me celebratory dancing vibes. He's just like feeling himself, you know?
Now I can chill. I'm out of danger.
Yeah.
You know?
And then each of the enemy sprites you encounter in the game, like almost, maybe not all of them, but a very good number of them, grunts, mini-bosses, bosses, Mayo even fades in and out as he passes them in space, you know?
A la Mega Man 3, or Mario 3, love it.
Okay. And then, you know what's funny? You say that? I don't think I have any idea what the credit sequence in Mario 3 is, because I've never beat that game.
You've never beat it. Slacker. Mm-hmm. Similar to this, where you see like all the enemies kind of in the background, and you're like, oh, there they are. You know.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that before. That's funny. So yeah, the credits are rolling beneath that scene, and once he hits Earth, he swoops down and disappears over the horizon on the planet before the sun comes peeking out in that same place. And then the end appears below it, and the music keeps on playing.
High Ryu song, bringing us into the verdict time. Let's go. Strider, Part 2.
It's not Part 2. I think this is actually... This is a faithful arcade port. So,
fair enough.
Being that the arcade was the first installment, I think one would have to say that the NES version is the one that's a little further on some tangent or something, So
yes, which we will get to for sure.
But neither one of them are Part 2. They're completely separate entities in different universes, I think, in reality. But anyways, I was very, very upset with the last level. There are many things about it that are unreasonable and even poorly designed, I would say. We talked about the damage feedback things are just so bad, and when those things rear its head, and it's no doubt like there's deliberate holdovers from the arcade game designed to annihilate your quarter reserves. Like they didn't like that stuff's still in here, and that is one of the things that you want to kind of see and shift coming out of a arcade thing to a home port, like an acknowledgement of that change, but it was not something that happened back then in all cases. So tough to really criticize that, I think. And then, the inertia expectations with the jumping, were very frustrating for me at times. So, I know you didn't have that to bitch about, but I certainly did. But, those, in the grand scheme of it, are minor fucking complaints, really. It controlled great otherwise. And this game, it looks, it sounds, it plays incredibly. The boss battles are on a whole new fucking level. And when not put in an unreasonable succession as an endgame rush, are the best I've ever dusted up with. So, I just... completely blown away with how good those are. And the design of them, there's variance in the mechanics, the way you tackle them, it's all just fucking elite boss design. The Mayo battle, despite all the well done heat before it, still presides above all of them in superiority. It's his sprite, the battle arena, the way it expects you to use all of your mobility, it's fucking incredible design there too. And the story efforts, the slideshows, the hilarious copywriting, the in-game sequence, it's all you could ask for from a 1990 video game, man. It's even though I had to walk away from it, it was the kind of walk away from that once you're all done and you can get the other side of that emotional spectrum, once you've experienced it, you just have to look back and go, okay, big ups, good job, Like, I was pissed. There's things that pissed me off, but nothing anywhere near notable enough to take away or cancel out the incredible things that it did, So, yeah. I see why the game is so heralded. I agree with the praise. And King Lorik respectfully nods and knights thee, Strider. You are blessed.
Okay. All right. So... did I have fun? At times, yes. But only at times. At other times, I just felt like it was hard. But then, I take it back to that rental standard. Like, if I had it for 3 days and I could just play it for hours, like if I had it over the weekend, I also feel like it's the type of the game that I would learn and get used to and be able to kind of like master, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Probably wouldn't beat it before Mom takes it back, but you would get.
You never know. You never know. Yeah. But like, this is some of the levels definitely later. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Without a Game Genie, come on. But like the NES, I was fascinated playing this, and I kept thinking about the NES version. But the NES version is way more Metroidvania, way more like back and forth looking for diskettes. Let me go back to Kazakhstan and go back here.
I didn't even mention that. There's not a single mainframe or diskette in this entire fucking game, dude. Yeah, never mind. You know what? King Lorik retracts his blessing. Never mind.
Points were deducted for lack of diskettes. But like outside of when thinking about that, it's almost like clearly they're two completely different games. You play them completely different ways. And I appreciate that this is much more of a straightforward game, more arcade style. The controls are much better. Would I recommend it to someone else or play it again for fun via remastered version? I would. Like, I do want to check out and see what the remastered Xbox version looks like and kind of, see what they've added. But I think I played this. I would give this a stunning blessing if I had more time. I think just the last couple of weeks, like, even though I beat the game and all that, like, if I could have taken the time to kind of like you said, explore the pickups a little more. But for me, it was kind of just like, all right, button mashing, let's go. Like, let me get it, platform. And I'm good at platforming and good at that. And so I was able to kind of get through it and figure it out. But I feel like there was a lot of fun I left on the table. You know what I mean? Hurting through it. So even with that, I would say, and hearing your feedback and hearing all the things that I still like about it, even like the going down the slopes that they kind of keep giving you over and over, like now it's time to rush your ass out of there kind of thing and stay alive. And even the swinging, which is far more reliable than anything we'd looked at on the NES. So like, I recognize again that there's things I didn't do, things that I clearly could have like mastered and been great at even watching some of these playthroughs. So I as well think I have to give it a blessing. And the NES version, forget that doesn't even count, man. What are we even doing? That's not gonna, it's almost like looking at an Atari version of a game and being like, here, we'll port this over for you. And like, not even remotely true. Like I can understand now why EGM would give this game of the year at the time with what you're doing. You're like, oh, this is like a true arcade game versus like the NES version is like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Whole new ball game. I concur.
Yep.
Well, Jay, then I think it's important that we take a moment and acknowledge how, yet again,
here we go.
I steered you into a positive when all signs in your mind pointed you emotionally in the opposite direction. So let's just not forget that down the road when we have our game debate discussions. And we will start down that road of game debate discussions with the next issue, the next magazine we'll be covering, and that is Sega Visions number 2. And I have little doubt that because we are entirely confined to Sega, Genesis at the time, they might still be some Master System stuff in there, but either way, there'll be plenty of Genesis fire, I have little doubt. So I know there'll be something in there that is very fun to talk about that you probably will be unfamiliar with, and I may have to steer you towards, but we shall see. So that's next up. You can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided with our Dumbest Company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the podcast on that podcast platform of choice, or any other for that matter. The website is NYEH Entertainment /ISOH pod. Email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. You could link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlists in the show notes. There's the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down on us on Reddit. We don't have a Patreon, but if you like giving money to things podcasters tell you to and would like to do so in our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. ablegamers.org is where you can find them. T-shirts are on the website. They are dope, and proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. Yes, we're both rocking them now. Jay, tell us about your socials.
Gentleman JB without the second E. It's pretty much where you can find me on all the platforms.
And I actually looked up and double confirmed that there is no Instagram account. That is MPO Box 0031. So perhaps very soon we will be able to convince Jab to sign up for Instagram, and he may have socials. Can you just imagine how epically reality shifting that will be if we can actually make that happen? I want so badly.
We're going to have to have a separate segment where we talk about like social media interactions.
Yeah. So my Twitter is at Josh Folan, my Instagram is my shift key is broke, and my Oculus handle is my shift key is broke. And I guess if you wanna request me on the Xbox platform just to see my thing pop up and say that I'm playing Subnautica, because that's the only thing you're gonna get me doing on that. You can. I'm 2 Minute Todd, I think. So yes, that's where I'm at. Come fucking hang out and let's play Demio or some shit, or Walkabout Mini Golf when that shit drops on the 26th in Atlantis. Okay, bye.
Bye.